Coming up on the next episode of the Celsius Pod.
Aiden, Beck's a Trumper confirmed.
This is not a good idea, but everyone is like, please marry the 12-year-old.
And get this, guys, she has an anxiety attack.
$82.
It's 82, and guess what?
The temperature is also 82 degrees.
That's not true. We haven't actually checked yet.
Okay,
It's
but
69.
guys,
That's an ad.
it's
69.
82.
Nice.
Episode 82, the degrees is 82, and we're
Degrees are
talking about
82.
Inside Out 2. So a lot of twos today.
At least one to
Yeah. But let's save Inside Out for a bit later.
Yeah, we're saving that one.
We're gonna save
Does
this.
anybody have any interesting stories they need to say or anything?
I believe Uri's trying to get us to say no so we can come in and say, I have one.
I have something.
I don't, but Aiden, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Remember
you
when-
don't, Uri.
Remember when we talked about this guy last week?
Oh my god.
I did want to bring up that I found my other Lego Batman who has a normal cape and a normal cowl.
Yeah, the cape does look cooler.
This one does, yeah. It's just better. I like this cowl more than like this entire piece, which also has like the chest emblem. I don't know.
That's cool.
That's
awesome.
I just wanted to bring that up because we were talking about that last time, and I thought it could be a kind of a talking about it again kind of a thing.
All right.
That's cool.
All right, Uri, let's get to your story.
I don't have a story.
No,
I
you
just wanted to say
have
what
a
I-
story. Tell us the story, Uri.
Beck, I literally don't have a story.
Becky literally doesn't have a story.
Yeah, okay.
So Beck, you said last episode that you lost your faith in movies and TV.
Yeah.
Have you regained it at all?
I'm
or
starting
something?
to recover,
Oh,
Yeah?
good.
Inside Out 2 was really good. I watched a lot of other good stuff. But speaking of Game of Thrones, so there is this prequel to Game of Thrones. It's called House of the Dragon. And it takes place like 178 years before Game of Thrones.
Yeah, they say that in the beginning of the show. They have a little
Yeah.
card that says, "Before Daenerys, this."
So I'm like wondering, like, do they want like people to like watch this one first, or do they want to have people watch like Game of Thrones first? Because there are some.
No, this is why I think people want people to hate Game of Thrones so much by the time they end it. They're like, you know what? Anything they do from the universe has to be better than this. So watch House of the Dragon after.
Got it.
That's my theory.
Yeah.
But so you want to talk about House of the Dragon?
I do want to talk about House of the Dragon.
I don't want to talk
let's
about
talk.
House of the Dragon though.
So
Let's talk about it.
there's this guy, and he's the king, but he doesn't have any sons. He only has one daughter. And his wife, she's pregnant. And he's like, it's gotta be a son because I need one of my sons. I need a son to be like my heir. So, and then the wife is like about to go into birth and it's like, okay, let's do this. But the baby is like the wrong way and they can't rotate the baby. So they have to like
rotate the baby.
they can't rotate the baby. It's so
Oh my
sad.
God.
So they end up having to like cut into her chest, do like a C-section.
Yep.
And Aiden, that's fatal.
Yeah, it does. He's like, okay, it will kill your wife. And he's like, I'll do it because I need the son. So they cut him open. They get the son. The son dies.
Oh,
So,
whoa! Who could have saw that?
So he
coming?
lost both a son and a wife in the same day. So he's
Oh.
really sad.
And just for reference, his wife is his cousin.
Oh, good.
Just as a ref.
Okay, good.
I did not know that detail. But I must have
But
missed
that's
that.
fine. That's like I would say on the verge of incest. That's like okay incest.
I don't think we
I'll
need to
say
be
that.
tier listing them, Uri. Okay. So the son and the wife die. So now this guy's brother, Damon, he's like next in line. but he goes and is like, Lamal, that guy was only heir for a day, rip bozo. And then turns out his brother doesn't really like having his dead son being called the king for a day and saying rip bozo. So
Oh
he
man.
changes the heir from his brother to his daughter.
Who is daughter and Aiden? They don't like women.
They don't like
back in
women.
those.
Yeah,
in
we
the-
don't like
back in those
women now. Come on, guys.
Fair, but they really didn't like them back in those fictional medieval times, you know?
True.
And only in those fictional medieval times.
Yeah,
Everywhere else they love women. But
so true.
So now she is
no,
the
yeah.
heir to the House of the Dragon.
And a
Okay.
bunch of like lords across the country have to like they swear to her,
pledge
you
their
know?
loyalty to her. So it'll
Rhaenyra,
be like a
yeah.
peaceful transition with them accepting her. So that was episode 1. Episode 2
Is essentially who can Viserys marry?
Who
This
knows?
is the is he going to be a bachelor forever or is he going to get some puss?
Ooh,
That's this
wow.
episode.
Okay.
That's a great question.
So first of all,
That's gonna not bode well for me in the next statement Beck says.
so he wants to so he needs to find a new wife because we have a 6-month time jump.
Sure.
Which is very weird. Having a time jump after episode. No, because it's like the second time jump of the show. Because I forgot the first scene is this guy being named heir, and then we jump to this time, and then this episode we're jumping another time period.
Beck,
6
Beck,
months.
I'm gonna tell you this: for the first season, for the first 7 episodes, there's a time jump between each of the first 7 episodes until like the last 3 episodes.
That's great.
Yeah, I it's not confusing at all.
This is like watching the Challengers, and everyone knows how good the Challengers was.
Yeah.
Challengers was good, Aiden.
The time jumping was not good.
You're just idiots.
So this guy, he's called like the sea serpent, and he's like, marry my daughter. And then he meets the daughter, and the daughter is like 12 years old, and he's like, this
don't
is
know if you can
not a
do
good
that.
idea. But everyone is like, please marry the 12-year-old. He's like, I'm not gonna do
Please.
that.
We can wait until she's like of age, like maybe in 2 years.
Why does
but,
everyone want him to date the 12-year-old? This
Because
is very
she's
strange.
of like
Because,
pure
hey,
blood.
She comes
what?
not only no
Bro, she's
because
come on, man.
because she is related to the Valerians, which are a blood family that are related to the Targaryens back from old Valyria.
Yeah.
So they have blood connections, these two families, and so they're keeping it in the family, which is probably the best option.
I see. Okay.
But the thing is, he makes the good decision to not marry the 12-year-old.
Good for him.
But he makes the
And
bad
marries the
decision
16-year-old.
to marry his daughter's best friend. So,
Yeah.
kind of
And that-
awkward dynamics there.
I mean, I think that's probably better, though, right?
It's better. It's still
Yeah.
not good.
But in terms of the realm, it's kind of bad.
Because, like, now the guy's like, you won't marry my 12-year-old daughter? That's annoying. I'm gonna go to war in the Stepstones.
In the Stepstones, come
And
on.
he gets his brother Damon to go to war with him. And that's where we start episode 3. We have a 2-year time jump, and now they're like losing the war that they've been fighting for 2 years.
That's a long time for time jump.
Yep. And it might have been 3 years, because now they have a son who's 2 years old.
Damon, his best friend, his daughter's best friend.
Yes.
And you gotta remember, the daughter's best friend, her father is the hand of the king, which is like assistant to the king. And this guy's a pretty swarmy bastard. He's like the little finger of this show.
Yeah.
Interesting, okay.
So we find out that together they had a son who is now the firstborn, like, male, or the firstborn son of the king, which is like, usually the firstborn son is the one who, like, gets named heir, but the daughter was named heir before the son was born. So now there's like, is he gonna change the line of succession to go to his son? So they go hunting for like some kind of elk, and they keep trying to find.
course.
Now the daughter needs to find someone to marry. Just so like she gets married.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff happens. The king is like,
They do suggest that she maybe should marry her brother.
yes, that is all. That is a very weird scene.
Quite strange. Quite strange.
Yes.
And there's also something definitely brewing between her and her uncle. You know?
Yeah.
Is her uncle
definitely some
the Kingsguard?
The Damon.
Oh, yeah. There's like
There's definitely some tension brewing
there
there.
is tension brewing there. I feel like she's simping for the Kingsguard right now, you know?
Yeah.
And but
yeah.
episode 3, all this is happening. He's still technically like fighting off at the war. In this episode. So they're fighting, they're losing. So the king is like, my brother betrayed me, but I'm gonna send him some ships and some men. And then the guy gets letters like, my brother's going to help me, and he gets so pissed, he walks out with a white flag into the enemy stronghold, does a fake surrender, puts it into the ground, pulls out a dagger, stabs the main guy, and does like a 1v100 battle to like end the war.
Yeah. Because
he really hates his brother.
Campaign. Yeah. But then he kills the guy, but then, the cavalry comes in and they save him.
Yep. That's all that happened basically.
Wow.
And so Beck's gonna continue to watch some really, really interesting dynamics play out, I would say, because the show really evolves from each episode. And by this time it's like episode 6, it's a whole new show. And which is really
to
interesting.
me, it doesn't feel like as good as like earlier seasons of Game of Thrones.
Would you say it's like on the tier of like season 6 or something?
The problem with me is like season 6, 7, and 8 were like easier to watch because I already knew all these characters and was like invested in their dynamics. The problem with this show is I don't know any of these characters yet. I haven't called any of the characters by their names because I don't remember them yet. So,
well, that's also because Beck's kind of an idiot. You gotta remember that.
Yeah,
that is kind of true.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of crazy that you don't know any of the characters' names.
Okay, I know all the names of the characters in Inside Out. Okay, it's easy.
They're all emotion. Their names aren't like
they're all emotion.
Their names aren't like scenarios. Or like
Beck when you see a character, he just has an anxiety attack. Oh, that's her name, right? I forgot. Right, I forgot.
Okay.
Wait, I'm embarrassed that I don't know the names. Embarrassment.
Oh, right, I forgot.
Okay. But I find it okay. The show's fine. I think I just need to like get into it to.
I would say episode 5 is where the show really picks off because it's like it seems more.
Yeah.
It seems like it really you see kind of like because this essentially this whole thing is like a Targaryen civil war we're building up to.
Yeah,
and we're gonna see how it like two sides of the same family. It's gonna really be kind of a interesting dynamic.
Okay.
Yeah. Speaking of that, the next season of it airs in like 3 days from when we're filming. So, I think next episode we will try to talk about season 2 when it airs.
And the rest of season.
Spit it out.
It is out by the time this episode's out.
What is it?
What?
Oh, are you talking about House of Dragon?
House of Dragon.
Yeah, season 2.
I thought you meant a different show by now.
No.
I thought you
talking about House of Dragon season 2.
Yeah, it will be out by
Does it have like a good like season 1 build up or like cliffhanger?
There's an insane cliffhanger at the end of season 1.
It's insane, Beck. Okay, you're not even gonna be prepared for it. That's how
I'm not gonna be prepared for it. Is it gonna be a dragon killing a million people for no reason?
It's so influential that even I know the season twist is.
Really?
Yeah,
No,
Aiden?
I
Is
have
it
no idea what
Bran
it
the
is.
Broken comes back?
Wait, Aiden. Beck, I do have to tell you, it is. They do say this. He's all like, he wargs into the past. He's like, who has a better story than me?
Yeah.
The Broken.
It would be funny that they just randomly have Bran warg back in. It's like, guys, I need your help.
Doesn't it take place in the? Isn't it a prequel?
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
he can time travel into the past.
What?
It's
He
a
can
really
time
weird.
travel?
It's a weird concept that they never explore past like one moment. But he can
Great.
technically
Yeah.
time travel.
Yeah.
Great.
So
And,
that's what
yeah.
the season 1 finale is. It's Bran goes back in time. It's
Yeah.
like, guys, I need your help. We need to change the ending of Game of Thrones.
He's all like, we have to go to the present. But Doc, what about my parents?
Ignore your parents, Morty. We gotta go.
No, Bran goes to the future and says, we have to go to a game. A game of what?
Thrones.
A Game of Thrones.
Yeah. But
Whoa!
we're the House of the Dragon.
We're the House of the Dragon. Ah.
Yeah.
Wow,
Wait,
and
okay,
then,
one question I
yeah.
had is this based on like a George R. Martin book or is this like original?
Mhm. Okay, so I'll give a little breakdown.
Breakdown.
Well, like a breakdown, am I
Break-
right?
I've talked about this before, but essentially, so you have the current unfinished book series, correct?
I watched
do,
a
that's-
really funny video about like they timelined like how many pages George R. R. Martin has written over like the past 11 years. And it's like, you know, he didn't write anything for like 4 years, then he did like 100 pages, then he didn't write anything for 4 years.
Yeah,
So
he
true.
did give like a first chapter of the book, but that was like 5 years ago. So that's kind of crazy. But we have our current unfinished book series, and then he's made some short story prequels in like during the run about like Aegon the Fifth Targaryen and his squire.
They name so many people Aegon in this show. It's crazy.
Because that's a very popular Targaryen name.
Are you saying that like half the cast is named John?
No, because like you have
No, 'cause
Aegon,
no, because
who
John is actually a name in the show. Sorry.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you have like Aegon,
Yeah,
the one
it's-
who landed. You have Aegon the Son in House of the Dragon. And then you have Jon Snow, which is also Aegon.
Wait, back. You're gonna really find this really funny.
Yeah?
That there will be another Aegon in House of the
Fuck
Dragon.
you. Pick
Uh-oh.
a
And
he's
different
like-
name.
And he's gonna be really important moving on, I would say. And the Aegon. Oh yeah, it's very interesting. And because Aegon's a very like popular Targaryen name because of the guy who created their dynasty.
Yeah.
And essentially, so I told you we have the prequel books, the short stories, which are called Dunk and Egg, which are based off the characters of Duncan the Knight, who was a famous knight, and Egg, Aegon the Fifth Targaryen.
Mm.
And this actually takes place in between House of the Dragon and the main Game of
So
Thrones
the
story.
Aegon
Like 90,
son right now is Aegon the Fourth, right?
the Aegon, his
That was
Viserys'
just
son.
born, yeah, Viserys' son.
No, he's the second.
He's the second. Oh.
Yeah, he was the second. And yeah.
Coming back.
And
Great.
and Beck, but and I'm only giving like second kind of, never mind. But and so like there's like it's a very famous name, and so
Yeah.
essentially, I guess George does not want to write the last book because he just wrote an entire history book on the Targaryens instead.
Yeah.
And so we have like a history book which covers this entire period of House of the Dragon, which is called in the books the Dance of Dragons. They do mention it in Game of Thrones.
That's the
show.
name of one of the books. I know that.
Yeah, but it's also like a time period which was called the Targaryen Civil War.
Which is what House of the Dragon's about.
Yeah, and then they're gonna make an Aegon show about the guy who created their thing.
So about the guy that
And
landed
then-
at King's Landing.
and then they're gonna make
a
a
child and not Jon Snow.
they will make a show about Duncan Egg. As well, so
That's
it'll be
like the
3
Spring
prequels.
Night, right? That's what they're calling it.
Night of the Seven
Night of the
Kingdoms.
Seven Kingdoms.
And there'll be 3 Targaryen prequel shows. so
Wow, they're
It's
really
the
really
most
banking
like
on
it.
people falling back in love with Game of Thrones.
and they
I mean,
kind of
people
did.
really
They
liked
won.
it though, so I get it.
They won like the best show for that year in the Golden Globes
Mm,
and best drama at least, and at least for the first season. It kind of worked. House of Dragon. People were really hyped, and
yeah.
yeah. Well, let's move on to something else for now.
All
Do you
right.
guys want to
Um,
talk about the other thing you both watched that I haven't watched?
The Boys.
Yep.
The
Okay.
boys.
So, guys, I finally got season 4 of the best superhero fatigue antidote I've ever seen has come back, and I'm pretty excited. I would say I know Beck really hates this show.
I do not
personally.
hate the show.
Bro, Beck, you've talked about how much you dislike the show, okay?
Beck, you
Oh
literally
no, I think you guys
said
are thinking about
you really
the boys in the boat. No, this is different.
Right.
No, you
No.
love the
Yeah.
boys in the boat. What are you talking
Beck,
about?
it's your favorite. It was your favorite movie of 2023.
Yeah.
No, I'm just joking because Beck usually says he's really mad that like whenever they say they're gonna make like he was mad when they were saying gonna make a
No,
5th
because
season.
I'm like, okay, like they're gonna try to kill Homelander, like in season 1. Then
That's
season
the whole
2,
show, though.
we're gonna kill Homelander. Season 3, we were about to kill Homelander. Season 4, he's gone too far. We gotta kill Homelander.
Why don't they just kill him though?
I feel like that's really the arc of season 1.
Okay, but there was a
and
really funny scene in the first episode where they're like, okay, this woman is like, you know what? He throws acid on her. She's like, you think that was gonna work? And then Butch is like, die, bitch. He shoots her and he's like, what the fuck did you think that was gonna do? It's like,
that was funny.
like that. I thought that was a funny scene where it's like, you literally can't, like, it's so obvious. I think just shoot them in the head. It does not work.
It didn't work?
So,
Damn.
yeah, and so let's just see. I would say that I think so far I do like where they're heading with this show. I would say that the way I think they've set up based on these 3 episodes and probably how they're going to do the last season, as really I think it's going to barrel towards a massive kind of like battle, and I'm kind of excited to see how that plays out.
Yeah.
But so essentially, you want to break down the first episode?
Okay, the first episode. All right, the boys basically were taking place on election night, and the whole thing is this woman, Victoria Newman. She is an evil soup, and well, not evil soup, but she's a soup, and she is in the race.
She's not good.
Yeah, she's not good. She's like morally gray, like a lot of people. But she is running for vice president along with this other guy.
Nobody knows that she's a soup except for like the main characters.
Yeah.
The public does not know.
And we find out that she has won the race, so she is now the vice president elect. And we also find out that the president elect that has her as vice president wants to kill her because he knows that she's a soup, but he can't like release it, otherwise that'll like jeopardize.
She'll kill him.
Yeah.
And so he's working with Grace Mallory, who used to be the head of the boys, to help try to get rid of
Newman.
Victoria Newman. Yeah.
Okay. And is this the one that I'm the problem is they're all like blended together in my mind because I watched them all in the same one. But we have the trial of Homelander. That's like a big one where it's like
right. That's entirely in this episode. They did the Trump trial, guys. They did the Trump trial.
Yeah.
They did the Trump
So he killed a guy in broad daylight, and
that's the end of
Classic.
season 3.
Yeah.
Where they tease a guy throwing like water bottle at his son, but then Homelander just like fuck it, and he lasers him out of existence.
I do think it was cool, like how they tried to like twist what was very clearly him being guilty, like all the tricks they tried to use to trick people.
Yeah, they called the guy who threw the water bottle a pedophile.
Yeah, and they said like it was self-defense because it was a plastic water bottle.
Yeah, against a superhero.
Yeah.
But so and he's like he decides like, whoa, not they decide not guilty, and this causes like a really massive riot between the Starlighters and the Home Teamers, which are the two sides kind
Yeah.
of representing the left and the right, the very far left and far right groups. And
Yeah.
something that's really interesting is that MM, which is one of the boys, he has a wife who his ex-wife. She had a boyfriend, and the boyfriend was really alt-right Homelander guy. And at the end of season 3, he's the one who actually started the cheering on for when Homelander killed the guy. And you assume that maybe Homelander would be like, I guess nice to this guy for like, kind of,
Like
being part of
being a
his
big
team.
Homelander fan.
Yeah, and so then they bring this guy and two other guys to like do a meet and greet with Homelander, and he's all like, "Thank you for your bravery and your sacrifice." And he tells Deep, the New Noir, and A Train to kill these three guys so they could frame them, and like A Train could like speed these guys into the riot between the Starlighters and the Home Teamers to make it look like the Starlighters killed these three guys.
Yeah.
Wow.
But and like who could come up with this genius plan? My new favorite character, Sister Sage, who's like,
And now, Sister Sage.
yep. Her whole thing is that she is very smart, and I feel like they write her very well where she like has some amount of like cockiness, but it's not like annoying,
Yeah.
and she's like a really good foil for Homelander because Homelander like tries to use like the whole like physical advantage of like being able to kill you, but I feel like Sister Sage is good at
Yeah.
like being able to
Um,
talk against him and like kind of hold her ground a lot more.
Cause they're trying to find new superheroes to join the Seventh since like most of them are gone. Cause last season Homelander killed Noir, and they have a new Noir who actually does talk, and that makes it really funny. Cause
Yeah, it's
like
like an
the old
actor trying to
Noir,
play Noir, and Noir's whole thing is that he's silent. This guy's like, "Can I get some notes on like how my silence was doing?"
yeah, and so Homelander, cause now Homelander is like probably the most insecure person you could ever think of. Cause
Yeah,
he wants people to like I guess not to agree with him, cause like in the group, his main group in the Seven, he's created like a bunch of sycophantic yes men who are just gonna do whatever he says,
yeah.
and so he actually wants someone to disagree with him. So he goes in his regular Clark Kent outfit, and he goes to Sister Sage in her apartment and says, like, join. And it's like, she's like, I don't want it. But then she does. And so we see, as Beck said, a really interesting dynamic where she's kind of, not grounding him, but I guess kind of standing up to him and, like,
Yeah, but they
being
both are
behind his
like
plans.
working towards the same thing, where they
Yeah.
kind of just want Soups to take over.
And I'm going to say this so far. I think, because, like, how each season we've had, like, at least since season 1, we've had, like, a superhero. They set up, and then they just kind of die.
Yeah,
And the Stormfront Soldier Boy, I think he's way more interesting than Stormfront or Soldier Boy. I
because
would
you know
say.
what, she is like scary in like a non like physical way, where it's like the one advantage Homelander has is that he could like physically beat anyone, but you combine that with someone who can actually like put together a smart plan. That's like a terrible relationship. That's really scary, you know?
And they really highlight how smart she is by because the thing is something they're doing this season, which I find kind of interesting, is that they're really showing how Homelander is kind of I guess anxiety is kind of getting to him, I guess, or like his kind of like he's getting very tired. He's getting old, He's like he's it's like his kind of craziness is kind of getting to him because like he's doing a thing where he's plucking the gray hairs out of his pubes and putting them in like a jar.
Yummy.
And like they're showing how Homelander is aging, and so I really wonder how that factor is going to play into it.
Well, I feel like that's leaning towards him trying to be more like hard on Ryan to like shape him into his image.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. And so as I was saying, Sister Sage, she doesn't need fucking X-ray vision to realize that Homelander is aging, like Homelander did with Butcher when he sees the black mass around his brain. All she
Yeah.
says is, "I know." She like knows he has an enlarged prostate, and because she's just smart like that, you know.
Yeah. And I think there was like speaking of that, I kind of like skipped over this in the first scene, but like I feel like the first scene of like the boys seasons are usually really good. Like season 3 had that really cool one where it was like the Ant-Man one that like kills the guy. Like it's a really like
Yeah.
stupid gory scene, but it's like a lot of fun. This one
Something about
was
the boys is that
this one
it
was
does fun with its
yeah,
gore.
no, and
Yeah.
this one was like you had like a 12-year-old that had like Medusa snakes come out of her mouth and like kill 4 Secret Service guys. I thought that was a really fun scene.
You know what? How about let's break kind of like what we got from these first new episodes within each character.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start off with Butcher. So Butcher from the end of last season has kind of he has a diagnosis from using the temp fee. He
Yeah.
has like 6 months to live, and so he's kind of just hurtling until that finish line to kind of get what he needs to get done.
Yeah. And his whole thing is just trying to get like Ryan into a good place this season. And in episode 3, we kind of just he's trying to like he's like I'm going to drug I'm gonna drug him and then we're gonna kidnap him. But he decides to not drug him and try to like talk to him and bond with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which comes back to when we get to Ryan's character
Yeah.
because later because the thing is now Homeland Butcher is on the boys, but he's like nobody really wants him except for Huey.
Yeah.
And like we're
What
getting this
about
thing
Huey and Louie?
we're getting because we're getting this thing where he's kind of like being sporadic and erratic and like nobody really wants him to be there except for Huey. And they do this thing because like you could say the boys, it does tread a lot of the same kind of plot beats like from each season, I guess.
Yeah.
But because you assume like because they and like the end of like maybe episode 2, they do this thing where it's all like like Butcher just really wants to. He talks to MM, and like he wants to stay on the team and you assume that based on this entire show that is just gonna let him stay in the team. But I think it's like kind of refreshing to see him say no. You have to go.
Yeah.
I
Like
find that at
people
least
are
to be
finally
more
like, I'm
refreshing
done
for
with
the
your
yeah.
bullshit, bro.
Yeah, after like 3 seasons of it, and I'd say the most interesting aspect of the character so far is that now that Butcher has like his cancer from the brain cancer from the thing, he's starting to see things. He imagines his old wife, Becca, who talks to him. But Beck, what are your thoughts on Joe Kessler?
Oh, that's like the new guy.
Do you think it's just him in his head?
I doubt it because he's the one
'Cause
that
I've
gave him the
seen
fentanyl, right?
Big fan.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He was
not the
about to
fentanyl.
give his kid
Yeah.
like 10 things of fentanyl. It was crazy.
Yeah, no, because I've seen so many theories, and like nobody else sees him. How does he know about the big fight at the end of season 3?
Oh
All
yeah.
that.
I it could be that. Yeah.
Is that it?
Well,
It could
it
be
could
that.
be. I don't know. We're 3 episodes into like a 10 episode season. Is it 10 or 8?
Mm.
True.
Something like that.
8.
We're like we still have a lot of the show to go, but
Yeah,
it could be
but
that.
I'm
I
sure.
don't like I wouldn't like it if it was that, but
But they already set up with Becca kind of being
yeah. I guess they
what
want
is
a
it?
twist.
Hallucination. Yeah, and so because nobody else is interacting with this guy, so I don't know.
Mm.
Anyway,
What if
but
what if the other person's not real?
What if Huey
Butcher?
isn't real?
What if the person that you think is imagining this person is the one that's
What
not
if
real?
Butcher died and everyone's just seeing hallucinations of him?
wait, guys. I think I imagined the Celsius podcast. I'm just in
Yo.
the mental hospital
Yeah,
right
no,
now.
you are. You gotta
That'd be
wake
really
up,
cool.
Uri.
Wake up, Uri.
Wait,
Wake up.
Dr. Beck Lyons? Nurse Aiden Shoemaker?
I'm the doctor.
Dr.
Let's
House.
go.
Wait, what's the fucking guard Nicola Christic?
Guard?
Why
He
didn't
would
you
be
just
a
appear?
guard.
Guarding.
He's the guard.
Why is he
Because
guarding?
he likes randomly beating people up.
So
Aiden,
true.
Aiden, why are you touching me in my sleep?
Oh my.
Why are you doing that, Nurse Aiden?
Come on.
Okay.
Come on.
It's just a reference to Terminator 2.
Don't worry, guys.
Don't worry, guys,
Just
it
a
was just a
reference to Terminator
reference.
2.
Huey. So Huey is you know, he's working with the boys. He's the only one who wants to keep Butcher there. And his dad gets into a stroke. He was like, they do this thing with like the dad calls him earlier, but he doesn't respond. But then the dad's in the stroke, and he goes to see his dad. But guess what? His mom, who abandoned him when he was 6, she's there, and he has this whole kind of plot. Whoa,
A
voice
plot
Are
crack.
you
thing.
okay? This is like the 3rd time you voice cracked today.
I just talk a lot, you know.
And then the
Sure.
mom was like, I was gonna kill myself,
Voice
so I
crack.
left. And then he like kind of makes up with his mom.
And so that's kind of interesting. I would say the only really big thing this episode we see with Huey is that he has in like the 3rd episode, he has to go like stake out like a meeting between Victoria Newman and Sister Sage, but Homelander is there, and he drops like a
it's like a
drop of
Vought
sweat.
on Ice show. I thought that was funny.
Yeah, he does like there's like a Vaughn Ice show, and like they're infiltrating that. And while he's like Huey's in the air vent, and he drops like some sweat, and Homelander's instantly like, it's you, fucking Campbell, and then he tries to kill him. But you know what's the so funny thing about
He has X-ray vision.
yeah, he has X-ray vision, but
missed
like
8 times. We
the
and
funny thing is,
that was so confused. It's like a massive plot hole. Unless it's like a fucking
know what's
lead vent.
I guess it was lead vents. I don't know.
Because I
But
remember
the thing
like
is,
season 1, the whole thing was like you couldn't see through lead, so maybe it was that.
I get, yeah, I guess. But the funny thing is about the boys is that Homelander, he can kill so many people, but this motherfucker cannot fucking kill Huey out of all the people.
Yeah.
He's fought with I guess if you count this as a fight, but he's like been with Huey twice, and Huey still fucking survives. It's just kind of crazy.
Yeah. But like I thought the Ice show was also funny because they do a whole musical number about how you should say Merry Christmas instead of Happy Holidays. It was so stupid.
No, I keep this is kind of off topic, but that reminded me. I keep getting recommended like the boys' YouTube channel, like the Vought. I keep getting that in my like YouTube recommended. I have never once watched anything related to the boys in any capacity on YouTube.
I'm surprised
But
how clips of the boys exist on YouTube. I feel like you
No,
can't
it's
show
literally
like any
their.
scene.
It's like no. It's like their own channel.
Yeah.
Like it's like
no, but like I'm saying, like, how does YouTube allow like that much gore and stuff, you know?
Well, they just won't be monetized.
Yeah, it's Vought International, and they just upload.
Oh no, that
they
stuff.
uploaded
That
on-
stuff is really
Yeah.
cool. That's like in universe like
Yeah.
commercials.
They do like a bunch of like
But I keep
in-universe.
getting recommended that. Like I
Cameron
don't want to know
Coleman.
about the deep thoughts.
You
with
don't
deep,
you don't want the
deeper
deep thoughts?
Not really.
I
don't want this Liquid Death ad. I hate Liquid Death.
But I would say the really fun thing about the Homelander Huey chase scene is that, but guess who saves him at the end of the thing? A-Train, because A-Train is now going through this arc of he's subtly working for the boys, and he's becoming I guess he's the one with kind of getting a better becoming a better person, and I see him his character becoming like probably one of the boys at the end of the season at least.
Maybe, yeah.
And because he feels really guilty about what he did to his brother and all that, so we're seeing that character arc. On the other hand, the Deep is just becoming a worse person.
Yeah. He's ignoring his octopus girlfriend. It's so sad.
He is ignoring his, yeah, and something crazy about the show is that they fucking whenever two characters have a scene, there's gonna be like maybe one of 3 things that are gonna happen in that scene. They're either gonna like yell or they're gonna fucking have sex. And he just has sex with Sister Sage.
Yeah.
And in like the 3rd episode, which is kind of interesting, but I don't really know what that's gonna lead to. I feel like she has some ulterior motive, I would say. But yeah,
Yeah.
we get
Who else is there?
we got a new
Frenchie.
character, Frenchie.
Let's talk about Frenchie. Frenchie is
Frenchie
like,
and Kimiko can't be together for another random reason, and yeah.
you know, I was so confused because I was like, okay, so this guy's hitting on him, but isn't he? I thought they were dating. To be honest, I might have forgotten the past seasons, but I thought they were dating. Turns out Kimi's
I
like,
didn't know.
no, we can never date each other. Go have sex with that guy. And he's like, you know what? Sure. Then he realizes, oh wait,
He's like, no,
I killed
I
his
can't.
family. So this kind
Yeah,
of
'cause
awkward
it turns out-
situation.
It turns out Frenchie goes to like Narcotics Anonymous and he saw this guy and so like, oh, remember when I used to be a hitman? I killed that guy's entire family. I guess I'll have sex with him now. And he's haunted by that, Aiden. He's haunted.
He's haunted by killing the family or having sex.
No, he's haunted by killing the family of the guy he had sex with.
And then they do this thing where it's all like, his old handlers like comes to him in like in a vision and stuff. He's like, you know what? You're just kind of as bad as me, aren't you? You know, you're just kind of a
Sure.
shitty guy. There's a fun new character I would say, and they slowly introduce her, but in episode 3,
Yeah,
she
we
really
got, we
comes
got
into
like
frame.
some like podcast clips of her throughout like the first episode I remember seeing.
And her name is Firecracker. Essentially, she's like an alt-right conspiracy YouTuber kind of superhero, and she has the ability to make things explode. And
No, like not
and
even
if it,
explode. She can do like a slight spark. I thought that was really funny.
And-
She's like a soup, but like she does like nothing like superhero like.
yeah, and so I think she seems like she has the potential to be like a very interesting character, but I would say that so they build her up to be like this conspiracy YouTuber, but something that's interesting is that like it really reflects the real world, as in like these big figureheads kind of using desperate people to as kind of the way to like gain their own power, because like Firecracker, she says Sister Sage like, so what do you do? And she says, I give people purpose. Would you rather people would rather be instead of being inconsequential nobodies, they want to be somebody, feeling they're part of something important.
Yeah.
And she realized that she knows that she's just selling bullshit, and which is kind of interesting why Sister Sage is putting her on the 7. So it seems like she's going to have like a plan for.
I also feel
or
like
Firecracker.
that could also be like a PR move where they're like putting her on as like being like, wow, we're getting like a lot more like Homelander big supporters on the team, you know?
Yeah. And she does because in the first episode of The Boys Ever, Starlight was forced to was raped by the Deep. And
Okay.
when Firecracker gets into like the 7, she does this thing where it's all like, I got into the 7 without having to suck someone's dick, which is kind of really
Oh, we
a
find out Firecracker really hates Starlight, and we're like, why?
yeah, and guess what?
What?
Starlight called her a fat slut when she was young, which I think I'm gonna personally say this was not necessary for this. I would say they did not need to put this in. I would say
They didn't need to put that in?
Okay, yeah, but basically they competed in the same beauty pageants. But then Starlight kind of bullied her, and she had to drop out of the beauty pageants, and she's held a grudge for like 10, 15 years.
yeah. And but speaking of Starlight's really struggling because with trying to reclaim her Starlight identity. Since there's a whole group named after her, but she really doesn't feel like being Starlight anymore. But she realizes that in order to lead the group, she needs to become Starlight, and so we see her kind of struggle with that. Kimiko is trying to do her own thing, trying to turn, kind of bust the child trafficking ring that captured her in season 1. And there's like a girl she knows that's probably we're gonna find out what's with her later.
Yeah.
And what else? is now in charge of the boys, and he sees like he's trying to struggle with leadership because like Butcher has always been the leader of the boys, but now he's struggling with leadership. It's very hard for him because he gets sent to a trap by Sister Sage, and he feels like he can't do this, but he's learning how to do with that. I'd say a lot of the season is kind of like people trying to figure out who they're having like an identity crisis and trying to figure themselves out this season.
Yeah, and that happens a lot with Ryan.
Yeah. And let's get to Ryan, Beck. You can talk about Ryan because he has
So
like I would say the most
Ryan,
interesting arc.
he is Homelander's son, and the whole thing now is like they're trying to like push him into the spotlight like as a superhero. And Homelander keeps saying to him like, non-soups, they're just playthings for us. They don't matter. And the big thing
Guys,
that
I think
what?
And something they really what, Aiden?
I think Homelander's evil.
Yeah,
What?
I think he's
Yeah.
like morally gray. Like I feel like he's like a good person underneath. Like
No, like
I feel
by
like
the end
someone
of
just
the
needs
show,
to
like
talk to him.
no, he just needs like a good like he just needs a good hand,
Yeah.
No, they do this really interesting thing that separates Homelander and Ryan kind of instantly within like one line. He's all like, what did I tell you about humans? That they're just a bunch of toys for our amusement. And then he says, you wouldn't be scared of a bunch of cockroaches, would you? And then Ryan would be like, yeah.
Yeah, I would be.
And Homelander is disgusted by that.
Yeah. So, his whole thing is the big thing that's happened to him so far this season is, I believe in episode 2 or 3, I don't remember, is they're gonna have him do like a save, but it's like all actors. So they're like gonna fake a bank robbery, and then he's gonna go in and like save.
And he's gonna do it by himself. No Homelander, no nothing.
Yeah. So they practice, and then the main guy's like, okay. What you gotta do is you gotta grab me, throw me slightly, get the woman or get the girl off me, and you'll be a hero. And they like practice this, it's all going well. And then we go the day of the save, and the main
Homelander
guy
interrupts them.
Homelander flies in and is like, I'm here to help you, and then Ryan's like, what? And then the main actor guy is like, you gotta throw me, make it look real. So he's panicking, he grabs him, he throws him like across 2 city blocks and into a brick wall and just splatters him.
And
It
guess
sounds
what?
like he lived, right?
Yeah, no. It was
no.
minor flesh wound.
No,
Right.
just tis but a scratch.
And then I think there was a really good scene where it's Ryan's
like, so
crying, and then Homelander walks in and is like, I know you feel really bad. I'm sorry for, going in
Upstaging
there.
you.
Yeah. But he's like, no, I fucking killed a guy. That's what I'm sad. Like, you're sad you killed a guy? You shouldn't be sad about that.
Yeah. And
What a loser.
so essentially Ryan's really struggling. This is the arc of Ryan, because Ryan is kind of the most important character in the show. Because more than Homelander, he has the potential to be worse than fucking Homelander, because he's more powerful than Homelander, because he is the first natural born superhero. And something they really hammer home by saying that.
Yeah.
And like essentially Homelander, because Ryan's arc is really discovering what kind of man he wants to be. Will he be like, well, not that this is a guy, but will he be more like on the right side, kind of like with Butcher, or will he grow up to be and listen? If he listens to Homelander, will he listen? Will he be more like him? And so, because he has the potential to do anything right now, and he actually eventually does go back. Coming back to Butcher, he does go back. He talks to Butcher for like for like a day or something, like for a little bit, and he says, I like this is a really like a beautiful scene where like they're hanging out and like he feels really bad about killing the guy across the city block.
Yeah.
And he's all like, because last season is what kind of broke Butcher and Ryan apart. It was like he says, "Leave me alone. You killed Becca," because he accidentally killed his mom and Butcher's wife. And he's all like, "You killed Becca," but now he feels you were right for saying that, and it's really sad because how bad Ryan feels about himself for what he did.
Yeah.
And yeah, I would say the actor did a really good job performing that scene for Ryan.
I think that's
And
everyone,
then
right?
can we get to the? I don't know. We haven't talked about the big guy himself though.
Oh, Homelander,
kind of-
yeah. I feel like he's been a part
So-
of like every other character arc, so you can like.
But I really just want to talk about the big thing at the end of episode 3, that mainly to
Yeah.
the Homelander thing. So Homelander now he's aging, he's losing his mind, Aiden. He's kind of like he is the Trump of this universe. He is he's going free. This is going crazy because this season's probably going to have like an election episode, I assume.
Well, what do you mean?
I would say
like
you know how
like a
you know how in
January
Succession
6th.
they had. Maybe like that, but you know what? There might be like that, but I know, you know how like in Succession there was an election episode? Maybe there'll be something like that.
Okay,
or
well, we
something. Or
already
maybe,
know like who won the election. They're already the.
No, they didn't. They're not showing like who's like on the I guess the Republican side. They're still the elect.
They
I guess.
yeah. President
Do they
elect
say
means they
it-
won the election. They just need to certify
No,
it on January 6th.
I guess.
So as long as nothing happens on January 6th, we're fine.
Nothing's
Yeah.
gonna happen on
Nothing's
January
ever
6th.
happened on January 6th.
They do say that in the show. That yeah, you know, we're getting certified on January 6th, and so I can see I saw this in like a video that maybe the home teamers they stormed the Capitol, but then Homelander will like kill all of those guys, but then the home teamers the other guys say, oh, that was just the Starlighters in disguise or
I
something.
feel like the boys' writers have it so easy. Like history's writing their own story for them.
I would say it's a pretty I would say so far it's the most so far the sharpest political satire I've seen on TV so far.
I do. It's
I
hard
would
to
say
say, but like I kind of feel like
Succession's more subtle than this show. I would say Succession's way more subtle
Yeah,
than The Boys.
I kind of feel like I would have liked there to be like more, because like it feels like the conflict is too black and white between like the home teamers and the Starlighters. I would have liked to maybe see like some of the bad side of the Starlighters to like just show like it's not as like black and white. But I felt like they're trying
Yeah.
to go.
They're going really hard on
They're
how
going a bit
about-
too hard for me right now. Tone it down maybe a bit. It is
Aiden,
obvious a
Beck's a
lot.
Trumper
I am
confirmed.
not-
Beck's a Trump.
I would
I
like to have a bit more gray mixed into the conflict.
Bro would like
Okay.
a bit more gray. Can't
Yeah.
believe it.
Bro wants his savior Trump to help him.
one that was
but
on
no,
Loki.
I see what you're saying, Beck. It is a little black and white so far, and it would be more interesting with those dynamics. But I would say we already kind of get a lot of that within like the boys themselves, because you know they aren't like
Yeah, well,
total,
I kind of like that's what I like is like the villains aren't really like pure evil, and like the good guys do a lot of bad stuff, but it feels like when you have like the Starlighters versus the home teamers, it's just so black and white, you know?
yeah, and yeah, no, I get that definitely is a point I agree with, like, or I could see.
Yeah,
But yeah, it seems like more like the Starlighters are just kind of like that kind of just a representative of like I guess the kind of the far left that can
Yeah.
go extreme in a lot of ways.
well,
But,
like you don't see like
yeah.
any of their like
woke mom.
extreme actions in like a bad way, you know?
Yeah, yeah, I definitely agree with that. But Homelander, you know, he's kind of losing it. You know, he does this thing in the end of. I would say, guys, I'm really surprised that this guy has not gotten an award for Homelander because this guy carries the show on his back with his performance as Homelander. 'Cause
Yeah.
every little insecurity detail you can just see through his body language and eyes and like the little twitches he does, and he does this thing where it's like he's so fucking insecure because like he goes to like Ryan and says, "Why am I not enough for you?" and like yells that at him, and it's like you can see he's just kind of like a child that never matured, but then he's getting support from all the wrong ways. And now that even though he's a child in his head, he is aging, and now you seeing that kind of all mix into a cacophony of like demented madness in his head.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then the big thing at the end of episode 3 is like we're gonna see Homelander has to go back to like the laboratory he was born in.
the laboratory.
So
because he breaks the mirror after like again getting pissed at like Ryan, and like he has like a Green Goblin moment where he talks to himself in the mirror, which we saw last season, but now he's like talking to 4 versions of himself. Like there was one who's like the ultimate sociopath guy, then there's one who's like more of a needy one, I guess I would say the more human one, and like kind of like that. And like he was seeing how he's trying to balance all that, and they all come to the conclusion that he needs to go back to his past. Which I don't know what the fuck that could mean, but
yeah,
it's interesting, and I'm hyped for this season.
I am really
So-
hyped. Like I like, I like everyone like. I like remember the boys. It's like good, but every time I like when I was watching the first episode of season 4, I'm like, this is a great show. I forgot how good this show was.
Yeah, because it's kind of hard to, because like when you're in between seasons, because they've had such long season gaps.
Yeah.
But when you're in between a season of a show, you forget how like it could be, and like yeah, you can blame the show for being a lot of different things. It's
especially
not
like
subtle.
when you have Gen V between it.
Yeah.
Gen V wasn't as good as The Boys, so it kind of like lowered my like.
It was a good
perception.
show, but not as good as
Yeah.
The Boys. But I would say when you have The Boys, it's not a subtle
It is,
show.
bro.
The
I
character,
feel like they're trying to like do like pop culture references, but it's this random like political stuff. Like some random guy shows up with a gun and is like, it was like reference to like the Pizzagate, and it was like so obvious. I'm like,
yeah, but
it kind of
I
feels
would
like
say-
fourth wall breaky, but like not in like a fun way.
I would say, but the thing is that this show and like I guess kind of other these political satire shows, they're really trying to capture a state of this exact moment in our history.
Yeah.
You know, because I read an article about how like Eric Kripke has always made it important that this show, the creative show, it's always been about kind of Trumpism and stuff like that.
Yeah.
This and it's really about this kind of cultural moment right now. Because like I don't know how relevant the show might be in 10 years, where things might skew far. It might be even more relevant in 10 years because of ripple effects from today, but it could also not be relevant. But it's a cultural moment of this exact moment right now,
Yeah.
I'd say. And as I was saying, but the show, back to your point, the show, it's not subtle. The characters, they do kind of, I do struggle sometimes seeing how the characters kind of how their motivations kind of like shift from season to season, where they seem like they're kind of changing in kind of weird ways, and sometimes the characters kind of make not the most interesting choices, I would say, in like weird ways. I would think like, yes, why hasn't Homelander killed everyone like 20 times over by now in season 4 when he
Yeah.
probably should have done it at the end of season 1? I don't know.
And
But,
one other thing I want to say is I completely like brushed her off, but Victoria Newman, like any scene she's in, I just love her, and I feel like she's played very well, and I really like
Yeah,
how
yeah.
they like. This is more like a point in Gen V, but I really like how they explain her powers, and they gave it more depth in Gen V, where they're just being like the same blood powers, and I thought that was cool.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, she's fantastic in the show. I would
Yeah.
say highlights of the show are her, Butcher, Homelander. Ryan was really great.
Yeah, and Sister
Huey's,
Sage is a cool new.
yeah, Sister Sage is amazing. I still want to see some more. I feel like Firecracker is going to do something interesting this
Yeah.
season. But New Noir is pretty cool.
Yeah, no,
And,
he's very funny.
And but yeah, and
No,
so
because
but do
I
you,
am 90% sure it's randomly gonna be Noir speaks one time and Homelander just gets so pissed off he like headshots him out of
Kills him.
nowhere. It's gonna happen
But
like
kill No-
that.
kill Noir again.
He's 100% gonna kill Noir again. I would shoot him. I'm like 90% sure anytime he like talks in a meeting, I'm like Homelander's gonna kill this guy this scene.
Something that's great about like the character of Homelander is you never know when he's going to pop up, because like there are characters like Ashley that you might think he probably could have killed her like 2 seasons ago, but then but he does not kill her. But then with fucking like Annika, he just randomly kills her almost like instantly when he says, "No, I'm not gonna kill you."
Yeah.
And yeah,
And
but
I
the
thought that
show,
was a really funny thing because they just like,
yeah,
you killed her right as she was about to give us very key information. He's like, I dealt
Sorry.
with it.
okay,
She's
I
like
am a
so
bit
pissed
petty.
off. Like, what the fuck were you doing?
I am a bit petty, okay. But yeah, no. And I think the show can be like, but the show is like a great show.
It
I'd
is
say
a
it's
great
definitely in my
show.
it is in my like top 10 shows, I would say. I do love the show. And yeah, let's get into that was a lot.
Let's
So
get
let
into an
Aiden, can
Aiden
you
only thing.
yeah.
Alrighty, everybody. So if you remember last
Wait,
week,
Aiden, do you want me to bring you a snack?
No, I'm okay.
Well, I'm gonna get a snack for myself. I'll be back.
Okay. Well, okay. I'll cover some things that Uri don't need to hear. We'll
I'll
do
be back in
that
a minute.
rather.
So,
So
what's
we're
the
gonna start
weather
off-
in Philadelphia right now?
Yeah. So that's a whole group thing. So we're
Aw.
gonna start off with the new episode of My Adventures with Superman
Did
that
you
came
see
out.
season 3 was announced?
I did see season 3 was announced. That's
Yeah.
great. So this one, what happens in this episode is called Two Lanes Diverge, but it's lanes like Lois Lane
Oh,
because
that's
it's
cool.
about her and her father, right? So Jimmy gets invited to the Star convention to speak on behalf of like being Superman's friend, right? Because he's friends with Superman.
Yeah.
And so he goes to the thing and he invites Clark as a wingman, not Superman, but Clark. So then they go to the thing, and then Lois, she's looking for her dad. Her dad disappeared, and she tracks him down. And they also show us like flashbacks of her and her dad, like her as a child and a teen, and then like an almost adult, and like all of her like issues that stem from him being like a military guy, having to like being trained. But it's basic like her plot line is that, and then her and her dad are just kind of running away from like the bad guys.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jimmy and Clark are at this convention, and Jimmy speaks on behalf of Superman. He's like, guys, Superman protects us. He's awesome. But like the presentation that he comes to is actually a debate about why Superman is bad. And then Lex shows up and he's like, hey, Jimmy.
He's on the good side of
Super-
Superman, right?
Jimmy?
No, Lex Luthor. He's a big Superman fan.
Lex actually was like, guys, Superman is this strong. He could just snap and kill us
Wait.
all.
Bro, they're
That'd be
changing
crazy.
so much. He loved Superman in the comics. Wow.
No,
This show
I don't
must
think that's
suck.
right. First they give him hair, then he likes Superman. Can't believe it. Can't do it.
Yeah.
Anyway, Jimmy's like, "Come on, guys, Superman's good." And then Superman goes and does fights the bad guys with Lois' dad, who's also now there. And then Superman is like, "You know what? Fuck it. Lois isn't talking to me. I'm just gonna go use the thing and try to summon my my cousin, and hope she shows up." And then that's that episode. Pretty
Superman
good.
is like the good version of Homelander.
So true.
Yeah, I feel like Superman is kind of copying Homelander too much.
I think
Yeah.
so. And then another thing that I watched that came
And
out
back,
on that
who
Superman-
voices Superman in Adventures in my Adventures of Superman?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Jack Quaid, who plays.
Oh yeah, Huey.
Wow, that's crazy.
It's all connected.
Anyway, the other thing also that came out that the weekend was the new Craig of the Creek episode.
They're doing the sleepover.
Yeah.
Wait, Beck, do you also have Welch's gummies?
Yeah.
Yeah, but mine are better. Watch.
He's gonna pull out some cheese crackers.
I have
And
those
some
with
Scooby-Doo
gummies.
Those were good when Aiden gave
No,
them to me.
They
Aiden,
are
we need
good.
to keep eating these on camera so we can get sponsored.
Yeah, so the episode that I watched, again, no plot stuff. He sleeps at JP's house, another one of like it's like Craig, Kelsey, and JP. And he stays
The
at JP's
trio.
house. Yeah, and JP like does sleepwalks or whatever, and it's funny. JP is like one of the funnier characters, and that's what he does.
Yeah, he does.
But Hold on, I'm trying to find.
Hey, which character does Beck look like most from Craig of the Creek? Aiden?
Wow.
There's definitely a character that he looks like, but I don't know which one it is. But let me find the
Muppet ass motherfucker.
So true.
Wow. I
Um,
will never live that down.
Let me try to find. They did like release like a full poster image
That has like
of
each night.
of each night. So the next night, the next episode is gonna be him at Toeman's house.
Oh man.
Toeman, which is like kind of his rival, but kind of not. But like super unimportant and not a character that like I don't know why he's staying with him and not like literally any other character.
I mean, he probably will in the other episodes.
No, because then he goes to like the science girl's house, and then he goes to Bobby's house, and then he goes to the tea timer's house.
Mm.
I don't get it. Why isn't he going to like Omar's house or Xavier's?
I mean, like, does
Who
anyone
knows,
like
Aiden?
Omar?
Yes, he's awesome.
Okay.
But that's 6 episodes of like nothing happening, of like your finale season of 10 episodes. I don't get it.
So is this the
Shouldn't the show
finale
have
season?
been over?
Yeah.
Shouldn't the show have been over for like 2 seasons ago or something? I don't know.
Well,
No, I
we
don't know.
thought it ended with him destroying the map.
Yeah.
That he's been making of the creek. See, I remember the plot, Aiden. And then you had the whole water witch that wanted to flood the creek.
Yeah, but that was a movie.
Yeah.
All right. We'll talk about It's Always Sunny and then another thing, and then we're
Inside
all
Out 2.
Yeah.
Well,
and then another thing.
I have some individual movies I want to talk about.
We're all Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. So much content.
All right. We're all Yeah.
Yeah. You were in season 11. Wait,
And-
did you get to season 12?
Oh, I don't think I wasn't in season 12. I was in season 11. And I was saying season 11 like 8 9 8's fine. Like 9 10 11 they've been like falling off. They've been kind of
Mm.
boring. Season 10 had a couple of good episodes. Season 11 I watched through it, had a couple of good episodes. The like finale of season 11 was really good. I was definitely
Mhm.
definitely a really good one. And then season 12, a diamond in the rough, peeks
Ooh.
out and says, "We have 3 unique episodes in addition with just really good episodes at the same time." First episode, the characters all turn black, and it's a whole musical episode, and it's great.
Yeah.
A great episode.
Mhm.
Next episode, they go to the water park. It's just funny. Episode 3, they like spy on their moms, and it's just funny. Episode 4, it's all right, but it's still funny. Episode 5 is like filmed as like a crime doc.
Oh, awesome.
So right up Urie's alley, and that one was really good and really funny. Episode 6 is like, I'm just gonna explain you to the plot. So Mac is walking down the street with Charlie. They're walking together, and Mac sees a lotto ticket, and he goes to pick it up, and then there's a piano. It's above his head, and it snaps and falls. It almost falls on him. Frank, he yells the F slur across the street, and everyone gets alerted, looks at Mac, and kicks him. And then they go to an arbiter, not to figure out
Wow.
whether or not it's a hate crime that Frank said the F slur, but to see who actually gets the $2 scratcher ticket.
Wow. Really funny.
The episode is just another funny episode. Charlie says the N-word. Great. But But basically, the ruling is Frank and Mac have to share the lotto ticket, and unless Mac comes out as gay, therefore making it a hate crime. And so then this is the episode where Mac officially comes out as gay, because he did it in season 11 at the end of season 11 when he thought God wasn't real, and then he rejected
So
it.
wait, so Mac's gay? But then he was like having sex with women in the beginning.
Yeah, but remember, like in season 9 when not season 9, whatever season the gang misses the boat. Matt goes back to like having sex with women. But like he's been gay since like season 4.
And he's had like boyfriends or dates or
No,
hookups.
he's just been gay. You know it. He is. He does. They don't say it, but he is.
Okay.
Like there's an episode where they all have to do something that Mac wants to do, like the whole day, and they go rub oil on naked men. It's like he's gay. Come on.
Okay.
But he finally comes out in season 12, which is pretty cool. And then there's just a couple good episodes. One that's an episode focused on the side character. And then the last episode of the season, in season 10, they all go to like California, but Dennis gets off in North Dakota, and then he has a child with this woman, and then she comes to Philadelphia, and at the end of the episode, Dennis leaves. He leaves the show.
Ooh.
Like AP Bio.
Like for AP Bio. And so he's out of the show. And so the next episode, they replace him with Mindy Kaling.
They ruined the show?
Yeah, and so then she gets kicked out in the same episode
Oh,
because
thank
Dennis comes
God.
back. Dennis literally just comes back in the first episode of the next season.
Thank God.
And then it starts to go down a little bit. Season 13's all right. Dennis isn't in a lot of the episodes because he is doing AP Bio, but it's fine. But like episode 2 is kind of boring. Episode 3 is just the same North Dakota flying to California episode. Episode 4 is pretty funny. Episode 5 mid. Episode 6, that one's really funny. They just argue over a bathroom. Episode 7, they do a clip show, but like every time they remember something, they remember it wrong until the reality is messed up.
Oh, that
one's a fun episode. Episode 8 and 9 are like two halves of an episode. The first one is Charlie gets left alone while the rest of the gang goes to the Super Bowl, and then he home alones himself. Like he gets stuck in all his traps and stuff.
Wow.
And then episode 9 is the gang is actually at the Super Bowl, and they like are watching the Super Bowl, and they need Charlie to like do shit at the place, but he's home alone himself. And then episode 10, this is like Mac has been uncertain about his gayness. He doesn't know if he's a top or a bottom. And Frank is like, come on, Mac, you gotta come out to your dad, because that'll make you feel better. And Mac is like, no, Frank, I need to do this my way. And the whole episode is like them bickering, because Frank doesn't get gay because he's like an 80-year-old Danny DeVito man. But like shenanigans happen. And Mac finally does come out to his father at the prison, and it's like a 5-minute dance in the rain. It's beautiful.
So he's singing in the rain.
He's not singing. It's just he's just dancing beautifully. Have you the one like Danny DeVito? I get it now.
He's like crying and it's like zooming in on his face.
It's
him already used in an episode.
Yeah, the one. Yeah,
It got copyrighted.
It did get us copyright strikes.
That's really funny. Yeah, that is actually Danny DeVito's character understanding what it means to be gay.
Oh, I thought that was him in a prison.
No, he is in a prison. Yeah.
Why is he in prison?
Because that's where Mac's dad is. Mac's dad's in prison. He's performing at the prison. And then season 14 is just going downhill. It's kind of it's hand wavy. And there was like an episode that I was like, this is not a good episode. Like so far, they've all been like, that was fine, but this one I was like, this is boring. It's called The Gang
Damn.
Choke. Frank almost dies after choking on something, and then the gang is like, wow, we didn't save him, and Frank leaves. And moves in like with this waiter character that's also a reoccurring character.
Is this the worst episode of the show, you would say?
I mean, I don't know what the worst episode of the show is by critics, but this has been my least favorite. Yeah. And I'm in season 14. I'm like halfway done. It's all right. It's okay.
All right.
So I have 2.5 seasons left, pretty much.
All right.
And then I'm caught up.
Do you have any individuals, or are we getting to the group ones?
I have 5 more individuals.
Holy shit.
Remember last week, guys, when I said you guys haven't seen any of the Wallace and Gromits? I'm gonna go watch them right
Wait,
now.
Aiden, you forgot about something.
Uh-huh.
What did you think of Raweeby?
I didn't watch any yet. You
Dude,
haven't
it's
either.
supposed to be the Raweeby arc. You
Yeah,
literally
but my
wanted to make it the Raweeby arc.
Yeah, but
Damn,
my
guys,
summer vacation hasn't
I gotta
started.
take a photo of Aiden failing the Ruibi arc.
Okay, guys, I watched the first episode on Crunchyroll, which is a 3-minute trailer. And I'm like, I
Wow.
don't want to watch this show. So,
Makes sense.
so
Okay,
I
great.
don't know about the Raweeby arc, Aiden.
All right, so
Beck, do the Land Before Time.
you could just do Land Before Time. So anyway, let
Nah.
me talk about Wallace and Gromit, okay? So,
Talk about it.
all right. First off, we're going to start off with the first one. The first one is entitled A Grand Day Out. Wallace and Gromit go to the moon because they run out of cheese. So they build a rocket ship and go to the moon to get some cheese.
I know that
Get some
movie.
cheese. Then the next one, The Wrong Trousers. It's Gromit's birthday. Wallace gives him some robot pants, and they let a penguin stay with them as a roommate because they're running out of money. But the penguin is actually a bad guy, and he uses Wallace's pants and Wallace to steal a diamond. And then they send him to prison. And
What?
then the next one, A Close Shave. There's some sheep smuggling going on, sheep trafficking, and one of them escapes. They call him Sean the sheep. He
I
never
know that
misses a trick
name.
or loses a beat. And they uncovered the smuggling of the sheep, and they did it. Then the movie, the DreamWorks movie. There's a rabbit in town,
Wait,
and they, huh?
This is a DreamWorks movie. Is it different quality of animation or?
I mean, they've gotten better over time. Like the first one is definitely super scuffed. The character designs are really weird. It's just kind of weird. And then Wrong Trousers, Close Shave. They get a bigger budget. The animation is better. The animation is really good in Were Rabbit. I would say it's some of the best because they got the DreamWorks budget. But remember, these are stop motion, so there's only as much quality as you can go with clay.
All right.
But Curse of the Were-Rabbit, Wallace becomes a were-rabbit, and they kill knockoff Gaston.
No,
Wow.
not knockoff Gaston.
Then there's a matter of loaf and death. Then this is the one where Wallace calls himself inbred and then calls a woman fat in the same sentence. This one, I think, is like one of the better of the short films. I think Wrong Trousers and this one some of the best. Anyway, the fat lady wants to kill all bakers because she's fat, and bakers made her fat. So then she tries to kill Wallace.
So she's in 13% of the population.
Yeah. But I think like this is a peak series of stuff. I think like the movie is the weakest out of them.
Mhm.
Like I would much rather rewatch like the short films over the movie. But that's just me. I would highly recommend watching all of Wallace and Gromit. It's only 5.5 hours, pretty short. That's like 2 episodes of Game of Thrones.
Wow.
Easy.
Wow, what a
What
dig
a
at Beck.
diss.
What a diss at you, Beck.
Alright.
Oh my god, I'm getting an ad for Thelma on my letterbox.
Let's go.
Not Thelma.
We want to watch that.
Hell yeah. Guys, we can go on Thursday next week.
Can't.
Guys, we can go on Sunday next week.
Yay. All right.
Or Thelma.
So, Aiden, is it time for
Yeah.
our group ones?
The smiling friends. The smiling
Guys,
friends.
This episode really helped me see the light. You know,
Yeah.
That-
the Earth
that
really
is-
is flat. I've become
Yeah.
a flat earther. You
it's
know,
true.
Makes sense.
My boy Charlie, if he believes it, I believe in him. So
Yeah, but Charlie also I don't know. I don't know. I'm just gonna stop talking.
all right, Aiden, how about you talk about it?
All right, so this episode, here I have it downloaded on my computer. Let me go bring it up. So this episode, is, the alien episode that we saw like a year and a half ago, and has been teased for a while. This one episode, Charlie and Pim get abducted by aliens and go to an alien party, and do alien shenanigans, and then they go back home. And then the Earth is flat the whole time.
Yay!
Wow.
This is one of the better episodes of the season.
Yeah,
This one's like I think top 2 of the season right now. Maybe top 3.
top 3.
Yeah.
And
But,
we'll
like,
do a ranking
it's-
of all of them when the season's done.
Yeah. But it's good.
Okay. And now, can I get into a little backstory for the next one?
Sure. I'm not sure. Oh, yes.
When I
yeah,
was
I
a
forgot.
wee little boy,
A wee little boy.
I saw a trailer for this
You
movie.
saw a trailer. For
Oh
this
my
movie.
God.
I remember it was more of like a preview. And it was this
Preview, in fact.
amazing scene where it's this woman
Amazing
had been
scene.
arrested.
Woman had been arrested.
And she's picking up her possessions after getting out of jail. And there's this pin on the table. And she picks up the pin, and it's this really cool match cut to her in a field. And she starts freaking out. Then she drops the pin, then she goes to pick it up, and she's back in the field. And then we pan over, and in the distance we see a giant city. And then I
Yeah.
have thought
Wait,
about this
back,
movie.
back. Is this Tomorrowland?
Yes. I have thought about this movie for the past 8 years, maybe more. Never being able to watch it because it wasn't on Disney Plus. But
And then the other day, me and Beck were bored as shit. I was laying in bed. He was doing whatever he was doing. We were just sitting there being bored. We had like 2 hours before we were both going to go to bed. And Beck was like, what if we found Tomorrowland online and watched
we
it?
pirate it.
And I was like, yes.
Right,
And I
because
was-
it's not available anywhere, right?
It's not available anywhere. And I, going to watch all the Disney movies based on attractions, this is on the list. Even though it's technically not based on an attraction, it's based on an entire area of the park. It is still on the list. So I do have to watch it eventually. So I agreed. I said, Beck, let's go find it online. And it's on Disney Plus the next morning. So we didn't
In
watch it
other
then.
words, tomorrow.
Yes. So we made a plan to the next day, as known as tomorrow.
Wait,
then-
it was just on Disney Plus the next morning? Why?
Yeah, it literally was getting added to Disney Plus
Because
The next
timing.
because of
Cosmic timing.
of cosmic timing, because of God. And so we were like, let's make a plan to watch it tomorrow. And then we watched it tomorrow. And guys, It's at the bottom of the list in terms of
It's
Disney.
a good movie, Aiden.
Not a good movie, Beck.
First thing I want to say about this movie, how the fuck did Brad Bird direct this? I'm
Yeah, it's
so
that bad.
confused.
Why?
Because it's not that good.
This is a guy
So Beck.
who did like Ratatouille, The Incredibles, The
Wait,
Iron
Beck, what did he
Giant,
do?
and
did he do?
Tomorrowland.
Beck, what was the first one?
Ratatouille.
Yeah, Ratatouille.
Ratatouille.
Right?
Ratatouille.
Beck, I don't know if it's Ratatouille.
Ratatouille.
But
You guys, I'm not saying it right.
Beck, you're not saying it right.
Ratatouille. No, but so you're saying it's a good movie, Beck, but it's not Brad Bird good.
I just
It's
thought it
not
was
a
a
good
fun movie.
What's the movie about?
Okay,
Oh,
so
you don't want to get into that.
there's a
That's
kid, and he makes a jetpack, and he goes to the 1964 World's Fair, and it's like, I want to submit this. He tries to
Guys, so
submit.
the 1964 World's Fair is where the Carousel of Progress and A Small World was at. This is half important. This is only important so they can play nostalgic music.
Yeah, and so the guy who's judging the contest, his name is Nyx, and he talks to a girl named Athena, and I was like, yo, those are the people from Greek mythology. That's cool.
Whoa.
So they're talking to each other, and they're like, and the main guy Nyx is like, what is your invention gonna do? And he's like, how's it gonna be helpful? He's like, it's gonna be inspiring. He's like, that's not good enough. But Athena's like,
Not good enough.
I like this kid, and she gives him a
No, you're saying it
pin.
wrong. She's like, oh, I like this kid because she's British.
Heavy British accent. So
For some reason, she's the only character with a British accent.
House has a British accent.
Yeah, but he's House, okay? That's different.
Okay, Nyx is played
House as
by
in-
House MD.
House as in House MD?
Yeah.
Wow.
So we just called him House throughout the entire movie. Okay,
Yeah, because
so they go. So Athena gives him the pin, and it's like, follow me, and they go on It's a Small World, and they're riding It's a Small World, and then a laser comes down and scans the pin and makes it go on a different path, and he goes into a room, and he gets on a thing, and he gets teleported to Tomorrowland.
Okay, that's the name of the movie.
And then we cut to a completely different character, and she's sabotaging a NASA. No. We cut to her, 2006. She's looking up at the stars, is like, I like the stars. And her mom's like, but what if there's nothing out there? And she's like, but what if there's everything? So we find out she really likes stars. And then we
Damn,
cut
that's
to.
a defining character trait.
So we cut to her at a NASA launch pad, and they're deconstructing the NASA launch pad. So she is.
This is in Cape Canaveral from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
And she's sabotaging all the construction equipment so they can't take it down.
No.
But then they catch her, and no. She doesn't get caught that time. Then she goes to school, and they're like, climate change, protests, racism, stuff's really bad right now, guys. And then she raises her hands like, but what are we doing about it? What are we doing about it? And then the teacher's like, what? Okay, so everyone is dumb except her. And then
Makes sense. That's how I felt when I was in school.
And then she goes to shut down the construction site again, but she gets arrested this time. And then, guess what? She's walking out of the prison, and she goes to pick up her stuff, and there's a pin there.
Like the scene that Beck saw in the trailer.
Yeah.
So many years ago.
And Beck, were you hyped?
I was so hyped for this. It was so cool. And then I got to walk past the ending of the preview. And it was really cool because she goes walking in the field, but she bumps into a wall. So we get a really cool idea where she gets teleported to this other world, but she still moves around in her real world. So she has to move around in the real world to move around in the fictional world.
Yeah. Until it doesn't. but we'll ignore that.
Okay,
How about?
and then she's like, "Wow, this is so weird. When I touch it, it goes like this." So she has to get her dad to touch it, but it doesn't work on her dad.
Because it was made with her hair.
Yeah.
Right.
So
right.
she goes, takes the pin, and she's standing in the field. She's like, "I see the city off in the distance." She bikes over to where she thinks it is, touches the pin again. She's in the center of the city. She sees all this cool stuff. But it turns out
Whoa.
there's a timer on the pin, and the timer runs out, and now the pin no longer works.
Fuck.
Damn.
And
And also, she walks into a lake.
She does walk into a lake. So now she has to Google to find another pin. So she goes to find another pin. There's one at a pawn shop. She goes, bikes to the pawn shop, but then Athena shows up and is like, "Where's this girl?" And the brother is like, "She went to this pawn shop." She's like, "You went to the pawn shop? No!" So she pulls up to the pawn shop. It's Keegan-Michael Key and Agatha from WandaVision.
So
They're like,
true.
"Where'd you get the pin?" They lock her in. "Where'd you get the pin?" They pull out the most like sci-fi 90s ass cartoon looking guns that start shooting her. But then Athena shows up and they have a fight scene, and it turns out they were robots
They were robots.
from the future.
But no, Athena, she is like, no, they aren't robots. They're audio animatronics,
Like from
Right.
Disneyland. Like from
Audio
Disneyland.
animatronics. Right.
Like
correct.
from
Correct.
Disneyland.
Like
yeah.
from Disneyland.
Of course.
Like the presidents.
Yeah, like the presidents.
So that happens. And then they're driving away in a truck. But it turns out Athena's wounded, and the girl goes to check. Turns out Athena is also a robot. So she kicks her out, starts driving, and then you have like one of the funniest scenes of the entire movie where the
Because
girl
it's edited so
the
poorly.
girl is driving, and then like the back glass, you can see the little girl running at like 40 miles an hour at her, dives through the glass window, has like one of the most jarring cuts I've ever seen, and then the girl like takes her out. It's so funny. But
It's very bad.
eventually Athena's like, "Okay, we need to find the guy from the intro who was at It's a Small World." So they go to his house. Turns out it's George Clooney because the kid grew
No.
up.
To be George Clooney.
And he made like something that is gonna cause the end of the world in like 58 days. But she's like,
No.
"But like, what if we make our own future?" And then the percentage chance of it happening drops from like 100% to 99.99994%.
Wow. And I live in the 0.6%.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
and then the guy's like, "Wow, she can prevent the end of the future. So we need to go back to Tomorrowland." But then robots break into the house, so they have to escape the
Oh.
house.
Forgot to introduce the best character in the movie. So
Oh yes, the best
after
character.
they go out, so after they leave the pawn shop thing, full of Star Wars memorabilia, these FBI agents show up. This guy, very clearly a robot. His name is Dave Clark. Let me tell you about Dave Clark. This guy,
goat, bro.
he's always smiling, having a good time, cheery as all can be, and he's awesome. And he kills 2 people, 3 people, he vaporizes them, and then he doesn't show up ever again
Dave
after the
Clark,
scene.
my
in the
goat.
movie.
He doesn't need that much screen time. All those 2 scenes,
No.
he steals the entire show.
Yeah.
Okay, so now they're like, "Okay, we need to take the teleporter." They go to the teleporter, they teleport. They teleport to the top of the Eiffel Tower, and they're like,
Yeah.
"So do you know Tesla and who invented the light bulb? Edison? Thomas Edison." They're like, all these 4 really smart people, they teamed up and they turned the Eiffel Tower into a rocket ship that can travel between dimensions. Because Tomorrowland isn't the future; it's a separate dimension that they
Yep.
take
the fuck?
smart people from current day
Oh my god.
and take them to this alternate dimension
Yeah.
called Tomorrowland where they can like invent smart stuff.
Yeah, where they can be smart.
Yeah.
That
This is
also,
getting way too
Brett
confusing.
forgot about the part that the kid was part of Tomorrowland until he got kicked out for being too smart or something.
Yeah.
And then the girl also got kicked out for like being too robot or something. I don't know.
So, and then they take the Eiffel Tower spaceship to Tomorrowland. They crash, and then Dr. House is like, you guys shouldn't be here. And then they go to the future predicting machine, and they're like going to the future, and there's like a bunch of static, and then the end of the world, the ice caps, they're melting. People are
Apocalypse!
protesting. And they're like, what's happening?
And they're like bad things. And then Casey, the main character, she's like, guys, I figured it out. The reason the world is ending is because this thing is being transmitted to Earth and is making everyone think that the world is going to end. And because they think the world is going to end, the world is going to end. So we got to turn off the thing. And Dr. House is like, no, you can't do that. Guys, we have to have the apocalypse thing on because the apocalypse thing made apocalypse movies, guys.
Yeah. I think he was trying to say something about like news being too negative and that causes the apocalypse. It was not. It was kind of clear.
It was not clear what his intentions were.
Kind of clever when I think about
So,
it. It was just
well,
not
he was saying
executed
that-
very well.
Climate change is a hoax, fake news. We
Yes,
should
because
believe.
it only exists because people think it's real.
Yeah.
Ah,
If
okay.
you
So
don't
racism.
think it's real, it goes away. It's basically what the main
No,
the
they're
main
saying
thread of the movie was like
they're
nothing.
saying if people think the apocalypse is gonna happen, it's gonna happen. If we don't think it's gonna happen, we're fine.
Yeah, so then
This
they
is-
have
This
to
is the polar opposite of the boys.
shut up. So they have to destroy the thing, and then they don't. But then they kill Dr. House, but then the little girl robot dies, and then she blows up, and then they won the day, and then the movie ends like that after a very not emotional death scene.
Oh yeah, the robot dies.
Yeah, damn the British girl
Yeah.
robot.
I found it to be kind of enjoyable, but now that I'm
I mean,
now
I
that we're
just thought
seeing
that
the
it
plot
was
again, I realized this was not a very good movie.
yeah.
I think
and
I
it
was
was
just
I think it was-
enjoying it. I was just enjoying kind of how stupid it was.
Remember in If, when we were all weirded out between the relationship of B and Ryan Reynolds' character?
Oh yeah, this is like 10 times
You mean her
worse.
imaginary friend?
This is like 10 times worse.
Wow.
Yeah, because like the guy, like when the guy was first went It's a Small World, he and like Athena like looked to be about the same age. So like I think he kind of fell for her, but then like he got older and she kind of stayed the same age or stayed looking the same age because she was a robot. So
Yeah. No,
oh,
she was an audio animatronic bag.
so when as he
Dang.
gets older, the relationship gets a little bit weirder, you know?
Hey. Some people get older, but they stay the same age.
All right. Now, Beck, are you done talking about your part of the movie?
You have a
And your
second.
particular? Yes, this is the part where I critique it as a adaptation of
Oh, yes.
of the ride thing. So at the time at the movie's inception, right? It was 2015, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is in
Yeah, wait, give me what's happening in 2015. I guess at the stage for me.
I don't Inside Out 2 came. Inside Out the first one came out. So here's what's important basically is that Tomorrowland at this point is in its fourth redesign. They don't know what to do with Tomorrowland. The rides they have at Tomorrowland are gas-powered ride, submarine, spinny thing. Who even knows? None of that's in the movie. The only thing that relates to Tomorrowland, like the actual thing, is the fact that They play Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow for 2 seconds. Space Mountain is in the background of a bunch of shots.
Yes. The same, like they stay on the same platform like 6 different times in the movie, and Space Mountain's always in the background.
And I pointed it out every time. And those are the only 2 things that it had to do with Tomorrowland.
So
They go to the World Fair, and instead of going on the ride that is in Tomorrowland, they go on the ride that's in Fantasyland. Why did they do that? I don't know. The movie's not called Fantasyland. They should have thought about that. They should have just gone on the Carousel of Progress. The scene would have been the same, and it would have made a little bit more sense. But nothing happened in the movie that relates to the thing. They go to a place with a lot of Star Wars stuff, and they have Star Tours in Tomorrowland. So maybe that's it. That could be it. That maybe. But overall, as an adaptation, it's at the it's. I mean, it's not a very good movie. It's at the bottom of the list regardless. If we want to know what the list is looking like, it's below Eddie Murphy, Haunted
wow.
Mansion, and then below Jungle Cruise.
Mm.
But that's my
All right.
my 15 cents on there.
Let's get into my movies that I watched.
His movie.
Wow, back.
It's gonna be like 3. First one I
Cool.
watched, No Country for Old Men. Now,
Let's
I
go.
love this movie, bro, because it has like one of my favorite characters of all time, Anton
Yeah.
Chigurh. Such like a
Whoa.
goated character. Like, I feel like the way he speaks just makes it the way he speaks is so cool and like somehow feels higher quality than when other people speak. Like he has like such a weird, intimidating, scary voice. It's so cool. His character's amazing. I feel like it's such a cool movie where it's kind of this cat and mouse game that the entire time, and they're both trying to creatively outwit the other person. Well, it's not. It's
Yeah.
not like it's mostly just Llewellyn trying to escape
Get
Chigurh
away.
because he's like fucking unstoppable.
Yeah. And then the movie has some really interesting messages kind of about the randomness of the universe and
Yeah,
because like
my one problem with it is I like the sheriff guy where it kind of feels like he
Mhm.
doesn't do a lot, but he's also like the main like theme of the movie because
it's kind of the theme of the movie.
he's like named at it's like No Country for Old Men, and it's kind of about him retiring as sheriff. Because
Yeah.
there's no country
And I
for old
found
men.
I I found it's really interesting that I I would say I'm gonna say this. I'm subpar in the movie. The character Anton Chigurh, I thought he was really good. The rest of the movie, it didn't work that well for me. I thought it was a fine movie. I'm gonna say I didn't love it that much.
Yeah.
But I do like the ending messaging of the movie that because he wants to retire because he's really like he thinks this world does not work for him. It's like people are getting too criminal, too evil with their crimes and stuff.
Yeah.
But then like he's like I guess maybe it's some guy. Is it an uncle or something? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's like a
He
brother or like an uncle or something.
who tells him like a story about like their past and how like a guy their descendant was like their ancestor was like left to die outside by like in the 1920s, and he shows that like the world has always kind of been this chaotic, and you can't really stop it.
Yeah. I do think the gas station coin flip scene is like a masterpiece
Yeah.
scene, one of the best scenes ever made. Like that
Yeah.
scene I can just like watch any day and enjoy it. And it's like
Mhm.
I feel like you could watch it like completely out of context. Like it's not like connected to the main plot at all really, but it's like such an amazing scene.
Yeah.
I rewatched The Fall Guy.
Wow, the Fall
Um
Guy.
and I
With
thought
Ryan.
it was still a very fun action movie that came out this year.
Is it worse or better
I
than
thought
first
it
time?
was a bit better on this rewatch. But I did have a problem with it, like I felt like the best parts were like when he's not doing like the random action stuff, like sort of like more of the rom-com aspect of it. But then like I liked a lot of the action parts. So overall, I think it's just like a very like average fun movie. And then I rewatched Inside Out, but I'll talk about that when we
Wow.
talk about the sequel.
I also rewatched Inside Out, so I'm gonna do that also.
So talk about it.
No, or do you have
No.
anything you want to talk about?
I don't have anything to talk about.
Then we're
Let's talk
talking
about
about Inside Out, the first one.
Now, Inside Out 1 is my favorite Pixar movie, so I was so excited when the sequel was announced.
So true. Now,
Um,
Beck, tell us why it's your favorite Pixar movie.
I just feel like it
It really
has.
relates to Riley.
I feel like it has a really interesting concept with like all these emotions and how they interact, and I think I love the world building, all the different cool ideas they do with like
You love the world building and concept of the idea that kind of breaks down almost instantly
Yeah.
when you think about it, just for a
Wow.
little bit.
I just think it's like a really creative
It is.
idea.
It is a creative idea. I will have to say this. It
fe-
is in my top 5.
I feel like it's also just like somehow from like the first like 5 seconds you can like already kind of cry because of how good the score is. Like it's like the 5 piano notes are like enough to like make you tear up. It's crazy. Yeah.
I do agree the first movie is really solid. That's my
yeah.
A solid outing for
I
Pixar.
feel like when
solid
I look back on it, I'm like, there's not really a bad scene in the movie.
Yeah.
I mean,
But
I'd say like in the middle, it gets
Yeah.
kind of dull. Like once the nightmare kind of scene kind of boring. I'll be honest.
Yeah,
I would say
is.
it's a shorter movie than I remember when I rewatched it a few months ago. It was
Yeah.
way shorter. I thought it was a longer movie, but it was short.
Yeah. I mean, you could say the one thing I felt a bit was like it kind of felt like they were maybe stalling for time with all the different side activities they had to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it does
But
have
Bing
like
Bong, but the Bing Bong scene made you cry.
it's more like the like final scene with like her like
That-
hugging her parents.
what-
That's
yeah,
the
that's
big
what makes me
emotional
cry.
scene.
Yeah. I don't really care for Bing Bong. He kind of sucks.
Yeah, he's fine. But I do like just how yeah. It has really good emotions. Yeah, it's really cool. It just feels like something I could rewatch any day, you know?
Yeah, the first one is a really high tier Pixar film.
Yeah. I would have it's like I think it was like one of those perfect Pixar movies that were just kind of like originals. No
Yeah.
sequels really needed at all, I guess.
No. Yeah.
But
Yes,
yeah.
that is one thing I did feel is that it didn't need a sequel.
And then they
Yeah.
made a
But we
sequel.
got one.
And Beck quite liked it.
I
so
did
how
quite
about you?
like it.
So how about you describe the plot of
You
the
want me
movie
to?
for
I will
us?
describe the plot of the movie.
Actually, can you set the stage before we go into how we go into the theater? Aiden, maybe you can give us going into the theater.
This is probably the most packed theater I've been to in a while because we went like the opening night 8:10 p.m. I thought this would be a good showing time, but it was like completely packed. We had bought our tickets like a week early and we still couldn't get the best seats. But we show up and there are so many kids there. Like, why are so many kids going to watch Inside Out 2? This is a movie for
wonder.
men. This is a movie for
manly
grown men.
For at least teen girls.
So true.
So yeah, is that the context you wanted, Uri?
Yeah, and we're so hyped. We're all like, "This is gonna be
Yeah, no,
the best
I
movie
was
of
so
the year."
hyped. to me, it felt like so unreal that I was about to watch Inside Out 2. You know, because like I watched the first one, I'm like, dude, what would seeing more of these characters be like? You know, because
Yeah.
Riley, hold.
this is like my like fifth time seeing the movie. It's like crazy to me imagine that there would be more. You know.
More
Mhm.
content, And Beck's only going to be so hyped when there's Inside Out 3 probably in like
I
another
do
10
not
years.
think they need to make Inside
think
Out
they need
3.
that.
But knowing Pixar, they're gonna.
Yeah, okay. There's like a like the thing is people will be like, you do not need to make Toy Story 5, and then everyone will go see Toy Story 5. Like anytime you're like they shouldn't make the movie, it's just everyone just goes and sees it
Yeah.
anyway, you know? Even if it like ruins
Yeah.
it by like adding too much, you know?
Hey, content. But let's talk about the movie
Okay,
because
I get to talk about this. Because I liked it the
okay, but
most of
do
the
it.
three.
But Beck, do it justice. Tell the entire story.
Do it justice? Alright. The opening scene is basically a reintroduction of all of the characters through a hockey game that Riley is playing. So, we get to see all the characters be introduced as they're helping her through the hockey game. And what I really like is how the whole thing of the first one, the big like ending was the first like co-emotion or co-emotion
joint sadness.
memory. Yeah. And what I like about this one is like they show how they combine all their emotions and different memories now. Like you'll have one between like anger and happiness of like she gets mad
Fear
and
and
scores a goal.
fear and disgust. Yeah, like all that.
All these like different combinations. So I thought that was really cool showing them off. We get introduced to she's like a teenager now. She has like these two best friends that she's hanging out
Yeah.
with. She just graduated middle school. She's going to high school. She's playing hockey. They leave the hockey rink, and then the high school coach goes and is like, I'm hosting a 3-day camp of like potential hockey recruits to see if they can make it on my team. So she gets invited to that, and that is basically what the whole sequels are going to be out over these like 3 days at the hockey camp. So
kind of similar to the first one where it's like it takes place over the first few days of her new school.
So she goes to sleep, and we're introduced to this whole concept that the emotions are basically taking these really memories that they don't like, and they're basically just launching them to the back of the mind and like trying to forget that they exist. So they launch a couple of the bad memories, and they take one of the good memories. They take a little elevator down headquarters to one of the most beautiful environments, which is a completely new concept, which is called the sense of self, which is basically they take these memories and they put them into this pool, and these pools they form beliefs, and then all these beliefs they combine together to a sense of self. And
yeah,
the emotions.
And Riley's is that.
She's a good person. So they like cherry pick which memories to put in there to make these beliefs. And then they all go up and they go to sleep.
Because Joy kicks out all the bad memories too.
Yeah, that's what I was saying with like ejecting them. And then this was a cool thing that I was hoping we'd see is we see where all the emotions sleep, and I thought that was really cool. Just giving
Because they forgot to show that. They have a room, but they don't show the room.
Yeah, I just thought that was a cool thing. And you see like the personality of each of them through their rooms. And then they go and they're getting out and there's an alarm ringing, and it's the puberty alarm from the first movie.
No.
So now
finally went off.
So now a demolition crew comes in and they like destroy the mind and they redo the console. They're like, what happens? Like, are the new emotions here? And they're like, what? And then like, oh, they'll come later. So they go. It's now morning. Riley wakes up and they're like, okay, it's the first day of the hockey camp. They gotta go there. They try to touch the console, but it plays like the console's a lot more sensitive. So like a slight touch gives like a lot of anger, or like a touch of sadness makes her like break down crying. So now we're just like, oh, she's in puberty. Wow, I wonder what that alarm meant. So now she's on the way to the hockey.
Which is, I want to say this really quick. Something about this Inside Out, and just I guess now I realize more like the fact that a lot of just the things they do within the Inside Out movies are just kind of like not very plot driven, just kind of a metaphor for why a person has like an emotion or something like that.
Yeah,
Why are they so sad? Because that person pressed the thing really hard. It's more
Yeah.
just kind of metaphors for why
But
someone is.
I do
acting away.
like how throughout the movies, like the emotions, they don't have like full control over Riley. It's more of like kind of a push in her mind or like an idea, you know?
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, because like they can't control what she says. They can
yeah,
only
they can only like
can-
give her a
can-
push of that emotion.
control the tone, maybe.
Yeah. Or like give her a feeling and then she builds off that feeling. So she goes and she's driving to the hockey camp, and then we find out that her two best friends are going to a different high school because
No!
of zoning or something like that.
No, if only they changed their address and took Riley's address as their own, so that way they could go to the school where all their friends
Yeah.
are.
And then
Look at Aiden trying to be like a housing guy right there.
No, I'm making a reference to Nicola.
and I feel like there's a really good interesting conflict here where it's like the 3-day camp and she has to decide between like making sure she'll have friends in high school or like trying to spend the last moments with her old friends. Whereas it's like
Okay, except Riley doesn't decide that.
Riley does.
Anxiety shows.
Yes.
does
So anxiety
Like
shows
getting
up,
to that.
and she's the one
And all
that's
well, not
that's
just anxiety, but come on.
okay. So anxiety shows
Anxiety
up.
and envy and embarrassment and ennui, who they call Wee Wee for the whole film, and
Yes.
nostalgia also shows up, but then she leaves.
So all the new emotions show up in the first conversation Riley has with a red-haired girl. I forget her name.
Val.
Val. Oh yeah, it is Val. So we see how all the new emotions act and interact and like how they cause her to act.
True.
So that happens. She goes in, and right now all kind of it's 9 emotions now, right?
Yeah.
Right now the main thing is anxiety is fighting for Riley to hang out with the new girls that are going to be at her high school versus hanging out with her old friends. And so Joy's kind of leaning towards the old friends, and anxiety is like, we need the new friends. There's a big conflict there.
And anxiety really tries to play herself as like, I'm the protector of Riley. You know, I'm not harming her. I'm protecting her.
Yeah.
You know.
Because she explains herself as like, if fear is the stuff that can hurt her, anxiety is thinking about the stuff that
could hurt her.
Invisible.
Yeah.
May
Yeah,
hurt her.
invisible stuff.
Yes.
So her whole thing is like planning for the future and thinking ahead and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
So they're doing all that. They're arguing. Riley is like, Joy takes over for a bit, trying to steer. But that ends up causing her Joy taking control causes the coach to get mad at her because she's goofing off. So now anxiety is even more anxious because now the coach doesn't really like her. So eventually we get to they're running their first scrimmage practice, and she has to pick which team to go to, and it's between like her old friends and her new friends, and Joy and anxiety, they're fighting. but Riley's sense of self is like causing her to be like, no, I have to be a good person. I already promised that she promised her friends that she would play on their team. So her sense of self is like forcing her to go to that side. But then anxiety is like, no, we can't have that. So she yoinks the sense of self out of, puts it in the catapult launcher, and launches it all the way to the back of the mind. So now Riley has lost her sense of self. And anxiety is like,
No.
okay. And she kicks out all the other 5 emotions.
Yeah,
The main
she
5.
bottles them up.
She does
She
bottle them up.
bottles.
No.
So she bottles them up, and they get taken to this
And send them to
vault.
like the secret memory
Yeah,
dungeon.
The vault.
the
The
vault.
vault.
And now they're like, okay, we got to break out. So they team up with like a bag that's supposed to be like the thing from Mickey Mouse Clubhouse.
Doodles.
Yeah. Who like is that a video game character that kind of looks like Cloud Strife with purple hair. And then like
Their
a big guy,
dark
the
secret.
big dark secret. And so they
Which,
do.
guys, if you stayed for the post credit scene, it turns out her big secret was that she burned a hole in the rug.
Mm.
Damn, that's not her. I thought her big secret was that she was gay.
We
which
were
is way more
making
fun.
bets if they would actually make Riley gay in this movie, because the trailers were very much like showing that
Yeah.
that could happen. Turns out they did not go
no.
through with it. I felt like they wanted to. You guys got that feeling,
Yeah.
right?
No, I don't think
No,
so.
Wow.
I didn't get that.
I think they tried with sadness and joy though.
Okay. And then they break it. Okay. The one thing is I felt like the pouch guy, Pouchy, I
That was
didn't
a bit
like him
contrived.
in like that first scene. I thought he was kind of annoying and they stayed on him a bit too long. But when he came back, I liked that at the end of the movie. But they break out, and then now they're like, okay, we need to get to the back of the mind, but we need someone in headquarters to actually like recall us once we're at the back of the mind and we have it. So they have to pick
Yeah.
someone, and they pick Sadness.
And she kind of gets relegated. Her character kind of gets reduced to kind of just that for the rest of the movie.
Well, they already made a movie about sadness.
Yeah.
We don't need more sadness. We need the characters that we forgot about to be the characters in this movie. Except we're going to tone them down and make them and less emotional than they were.
Yeah, they tried to make them more 3-dimensional when their entire like character is kind of being 2-dimensional.
Yeah, because like when they're trying to get back, they don't really know how to. And Joy's all like, I can't do this. And she's like, she gets angry, and then, anger kind of comforts her, which, kind of makes the world building kind of crazy, but, who cares? I would say the emotions in her head are also their own characters in the movie, so we kind of just
Yeah.
have to get over that. So, but yeah.
Yeah.
I think though, like anger in the first movie was like he became the surrogate leader when Joy was there,
which I think does make sense. Like anger definitely is like a driving emotion
Yeah.
even in real life. So I thought that made a lot of sense. And he's really not like the quick kind of thinker. He doesn't plan out anything. He does everything. That's not shown in this movie like at all. His character is really different.
Yeah.
I think he's the most changed character between the movies. Like Fear is less afraid, sure. Disgust is less disgusted, but anger feels like a different guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. And yeah, you kind of like it. Kind of, I would say something about this movie that it does feel like, but the fact that Joy kind of does not learn her lesson again with anxiety, it feels like she doesn't really learn her lesson from the first movie, and she kind of forgot. But yeah.
Well, the thing with I feel like Joy does not want to like get rid of anxiety, really. I feel like anxiety wants to get rid of joy. I feel like anxiety is like the worst part of joy from the first movie. You know?
I guess I haven't thought about it through that perspective.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah. But I would say it does still kind of. It just kind of rehash that same kind of plot beat in a way, though.
Yes.
Or of trying to connect two emotions, joy not connecting with another emotion, and them connecting at the end of the movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
But continue what you were
The
saying for
main
the plot
plot.
breakdown.
So throughout like Riley, now she's basically controlled by the four new ones: anxiety, embarrassment, ennui, envy. So anxiety is definitely the one taking over. So we see a lot of stuff like she wakes up at like 6 in the morning to practice because she's anxious about like the coach not liking her, and we see her do all this stuff. I feel like the four emotions work really well together. Like it
Yeah.
makes sense. Like
Especially
the way they work together.
envy and
Envy and
anxiety.
anxiety, yeah, work really well.
'Cause they have like a king and hand of the king kind of dynamic right there.
Yeah. So you have a lot of stuff where it's like Riley is now acting like kind of like a different person because she's like really anxious about trying to like fit in. So we have her doing all this while Joy and the other three are trying to make their way to the back of the mind. You have them get into like a random thing where it's like a sarcasm while um while Riley is like talking about like how she likes this music artist, but the music artist isn't cool, so she's like being sarcastic about liking it.
And then her friends come and are like, of course, but we just went to the concert.
Yeah. What is Imagination Land next?
Who even cares?
Okay.
They just do
No,
this the first movie again.
Okay. So we find out that there is this red book that the coach has that's her thoughts on all the players in the hockey camp. And then they set it up where it's like this is the book. And Riley goes to sleep and or she's like going to sleep. And then Joy and the three, they go to Imagination Land from the first movie. But the Imagination Land, now they have everyone coming up with like terrible situations that could happen to Riley in like in the future. So it's like anxiety kind of taking over there. But then Joy's like, but imagine if all this good stuff could happen, and there's a big conflict there. But then she decides to eventually go in and steal the book because anxiety is really worried about what happens in this or what's written in the book. So she goes, she steals the book. Sadness, she snuck back into headquarters. She tries to stop Riley, but she gets caught, and Riley reads the book, and it says that she's not ready. So she decides that what she has to do is she has to get 3 goals in the game because the star player of the team, Val, she got 2 in this scrimmage practice game, and that made her get on the team. So Riley needs to get 3 goals. I don't.
Meanwhile, Joy and the rest of the gang, they were trying to get the scepter to get back. Well, the sense of self scepter to get back to the the
I
headquarters.
think what happened between this is like we kind of see Joy kind of getting like kind of depressed because she's worried. I don't know why this kind of felt. out of nowhere, just like that Riley doesn't like need Joy anymore. I thought that was kind of weird.
Because Aiden, say the line from the movie.
Maybe anxiety. Maybe Riley doesn't need joy.
Maybe
and
as
needs
you grow
anxiety.
up, you feel less joy in your life.
Yeah, that got spoiled for me.
Yeah, that seems
Before
like a
the
weird
movie,
thing to just like randomly tweet.
Yeah, it was
So
kinda weird.
that happens, and they get to the back of the mind, and this is like right as the hockey game is happening. So she needs to get these 3 goals, and they find the sense of self, and they're like, okay, sadness, you got to send us back. And turns out embarrassment has been helping like sadness secretly. So embarrassment lets sadness down, and sadness tries to recall them back, but anxiety, she breaks the tube back so they can't get home. So now like they're in the middle of the hockey game. Oh yeah, I forgot. Throughout the entire movie, Riley's sense of self, anxiety has been like putting a lot of anxious memories into the sense of self. So it's building like a very anxious new
Sense
sense
of
of
self
self.
that says I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
He's not good enough.
So she puts all them in, and now she has a new sense of self that like is her just feeling like she's not good enough. And everyone, so anxiety is like taking over full force during this game, trying to make sure that she gets all the goals. And then Riley, like in the game, like she like charges the net, not passing the ball or passing the puck. And then she steals the puck from another player, which is just crazy. Like, that's like a terrible move.
Her on her own team.
Yeah, on her own team, she just steals the puck from another teammate, makes the goal. All this
But she gets a
happening,
penalty.
and then boom, she's trying to go for the 3rd goal, but she randomly in like 30 miles an hour crashes into one of her friends and knocks her friend to the ground. And it's like, what did I do? She gets put in the box for like 2 minutes. And then now she's freaking out. Anxiety is working full force because now she's messed up.
And get this, guys, she has an anxiety attack.
Yeah.
No way, a realistic depiction of a panic attack in my animated movie.
And I feel like they animated it really cool with like anxiety like moving around so quickly around the console. I thought that
I
was
would say this is probably my favorite part of the film. I love the way it was conveyed. Her
Yeah.
anxiety attack. It was so.
But now my
beautiful.
favorite part. So now Joy and the other emotions are like, how do we get the sense of self back? They get Pouchy back. I thought it was really funny. They reach his mouth. He just has a ton of dynamite for some reason.
Yeah.
So they get the dynamite. And they're like, we're gonna blow up. And we're gonna cause an avalanche of these bad memories that we forgot. And they're gonna topple down. And they're gonna bring us back to below headquarters where the sense of self stuff happens. And then Saturn's like, but what's gonna happen if all these bad memories go into her sense of self? And she's like, don't think about that right now. So they blow it up, and this is like as she's having the panic attack, they blow it, the flood of memory goes, and then they all flow into the sense of self. So they go up, and then Joy is like, anxiety, you need to like stop. So and then they stop. They're like they have to like rip the sense of self out, and then Joy is like she goes to put the new sense of self in, or the old sense of self in, but it doesn't work. And then she realizes, oh, she takes out the sense of self and she lets all the bad and forgotten memories that she put in, or that flooded in. She lets them all create new beliefs, and it creates like a new sense of self. It isn't just like all the good memories, it's all like the bad memories, and it just shows that the sense of self keeps jumping between all these different things, being like, I'm a good person, I'm not good enough. I'm
arguably
afraid.
more bad memories than good because that they flooded that belief.
They did flood
um,
it, but I feel like it was a really good emotional message. Like that's what like sold me on the sequel like being really good. Just that like that you should like take your sense of self not from like your best moments but from all your moments. But then she gets that new sense of self. Her friends help her out of the panic attack. And then Joy gets like some particles leading her to the console. She's like, Riley wants you, and I'm like, she's Joy. I mean, like Riley wants Joy. So she goes.
I mean that part is like they've never established that as a thing for the console before.
Yeah,
Which is a
it just felt it felt weird. This whole idea that Joy was not. I feel like that was a bit weird. But she goes, and then Riley feels happy. We cut to, I believe that's the ending. Is there another scene I'm forgetting at the end? Oh yeah, she's
It's the
like,
post-credit scene.
no,
the
she's
credit
like
scene.
going and like she's at the high school now, and she's hanging out with the hockey team people. So she has her friends, and then her old friends, they send her like a text being like, "Good luck, hope you get on the team." Um, and then she gets on the team at the end.
Well, we don't know. She just kind of.
Well, she
That's how the movie ends.
smiles, so it's kind of like assume that she gets on the team.
I got out,
You start smiling.
and she just kills the coach. Yeah. No, I would say I'll give my brief thoughts about this movie. I would say, okay, it's exactly like the same first movie. If you like the first movie, you're probably gonna like this movie. It's the exact same plot beats. You know, Joy gets lost. She gets out of the headquarters. She gets back. She reconciles with the emotion. They figure out they can't just make one thing of something. They have to make multiple things of something instead. You know, they can't just have one emotion. They need to have a sadness and joy emotion. They can't have one sense of self. They have to have multiple sense of self. You know, so they have to find some multiple thing of a mind mechanism.
I agree
have-
that it doesn't like change the plot a lot, but I mean, I already liked the plot of the first one, and it just felt like even if they are running it again, it feels different enough for me to find it enjoyable. But I get for some people that they'd want to see something completely new, you know?
And I think I probably wanted to see something a bit more new because it did kind of just feel like kind of similar, like where the emotions they don't really know what to do when they're in charge of the headquarters when Joy is gone, which is something we see. And Joy needs to go through another character arc of trying to, oh, I was wrong for that or something like that. And yeah, but I would say it's pretty enjoyable. I think maybe personally, I would maybe like to see a TV show of Riley as like different.
I think this would make a better TV show than a movie
Yeah,
if they like made this a TV show, which they're not like
going to.
they're. I mean, no, I mean like it's not like they haven't made TV. They did the Cars on the Road. They've done
What?
2 seasons of Monsters at Work.
That isn't
They're
Pixar
making
though.
Huh?
No, like it's not like made by Pixar people, right? Is it actually Pixar?
What are you
Am
saying?
I wrong?
Zach?
I feel like wait, I might have got.
Okay.
I thought they like contracted like a different studio to do it.
maybe I don't know, but
Is
it's
it-
Pixar nonetheless.
It's like a Pixar franchise, but they don't have like a team at Pixar working on it.
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know.
Either way, they could have done that. I think this movie, like if it was just reformatted as a show, would be better. I think.
Yeah, like
Or
maybe
at
a
least
year every episode or something like that. I don't know.
No. Like this exact movie, but it was a show.
could work.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, because it would flesh out the story a bit more. I would like to
Flesh
see.
out the story.
I would
flesh
like
out
to
the
see anxiety
characters.
as like taking her reign a bit longer. That's another thing.
But what-
Also, like
I thought
Riley's
they-
whole thing is so boring. The
Okay.
hockey sucks ass.
I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna be so honest. Inside Out would be such a more interesting world if it was in anybody except Riley. Riley's so
No,
uncool.
because you know what Uri wants? He wants someone with an eating disorder island.
I
That's
don't
the
want
one thing
that.
he wants. He only wants to see the mind of someone who has an eating disorder.
Or
I-
schizophrenic.
But I do think though, like if it wasn't hockey, like the first movie was her running away. Like that's crazy. That's impactful. She was like 11 doing this.
Yeah.
This is just she's abandoning her friends for new ones.
The
That's super
craziest
boring.
thing she does in this movie is open a book. That's the craziest thing she does.
Yeah, she sneaks into a school at night and opens a book and then leaves.
Yeah, like the
That's
first one, she
kind
like
of-
steals her mom's credit card and like runs away.
and runs away. Yeah, that's crazy. She doesn't do anything like that in this movie.
Yeah.
Like the whole thing is so boring.
Yeah.
It's definitely
And
not
there's
as
not-
good as the first one.
And she just like it's not like her emotional moment with her friends is just her being like, guys, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, guys. And they're like, don't worry, Riley. It's okay. We understand.
Yeah, there was no
Ah.
stakes to that really at all. I would
Okay,
say.
but-
Yeah.
Can I just say, I wasn't going into this movie expecting it to be better than the original, and it kind of
No, but when
met
half
my
of the movie is
expectations.
about Riley, when half of the movie is about Riley and it sucked pretty bad, I don't know.
I'm gonna
Like all the
say,
parts where they're actually in the brain
it
is
lived up
cool.
to my expectations, and I liked it.
Okay, Beck, why
I
are
really
you
like
such a?
Envy.
You're being way too diehard for the second
I'm
one.
getting
gonna
way
say.
too defensive for this.
Yeah.
Beck, you're being way too defensive. Beck, my favorite Pixar movie, Toy Story 3. Toy Story 4 sucks ass. Toy Story 2 overhyped. Toy Story 1 is pretty good for its time.
It's the original.
Okay,
It's the,
Maybe it's just gonna sit on me a bit. I'm usually a lot more praiseworthy the closer it is to when I watched
Yeah.
it, but
Because
I
I'm
will
gonna say,
agree. There is a lot of stuff I don't like about this movie.
Yeah.
and I'm not saying it's a bad movie. I'm saying
It's a good movie.
Yeah.
It's an all right, nice movie to watch if you like the first one and if you're a Pixar fan. And I'm saying,
Yeah.
generally, it does feel like maybe a movie that the substitute teacher would put on, just like to calm the kids for a
100%.
day. But it was a nice movie. It's the same movie, but yeah.
Yeah.
And is that all we have to say about Inside Out? Because I have one more thing before we end it.
You actually
Okay,
watched
Aiden.
Ruibi.
I didn't. But Adventure Time, there's going to be a movie, and there's going to be 2 TV shows, and they're bringing regular show back, and they're making a new Scooby-Doo anime, and Foster's is coming back. Very exciting, awesome news for everyone.
And they
And
got the
Gumball is also
creator of
coming back.
Steven Universe on the Adventure Time
And they got
movie.
Rebecca Sugar on the Adventure Time movie. It's going to be peak. It's going to be crazy. It's going to go crazy. And also, once in my life, I want to fucking go to Annecy Festival so I can see this shit
We
for
should
myself.
go to Annecy next year.
Okay, what's the recommendation for this episode?
Inside Out 1.
Inside Out, the first one, I guess.
Read
or No
the-
Country for Old Men.
Read the book as I lay dying.
Play the video game.
Outer
Frog
Wilds.
Detective. No, Frog Detective.
All
Play
right.
that.
Remember, always use Celsius.
Always use Celsius. Thanks for
Thanks
watching.
for watching.